everybody, and welcome back to Come Play Podcast, episode 23. Right now, it's just me and Bobby, but later, Brendy will be joining us, be joining me for some soccer talk, but for now, just me and Bobby. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, what's up?
So, this is going to be a little bit of a weird episode. Zach is also not here. He is day-to-day with an upper body injury. As reported on our Twitter, at Come Play Network, by our boy Brendy, with
per Brendy, per sources.
Per sources. So we kind of have a weird one because a lot of the stuff is going to be cut this week. You know, Zach's thought of the week, Zach's track of the week, and in case you missed it, all going to be out. And our usual big two topics is just going to be one this week because there's a shit ton to cover for the NFL. So we will do that. And then me and Bobby would do two quick picks here, and me and Brendy would do the other few later. And
you won't even notice.
Which you won't even know, exactly. So yeah, we will start off here with big news. I know for you especially, being a big Halo fan, Halo Master Chief Collection coming to PC. That including Halo Reach,
yep.
which is also coming to the Xbox version as well.
Yep.
So this is big news, especially because I was under the impression for the longest time when Halo was. I'm not gonna say Halo is not necessarily down now, but I feel like a few years ago it was very popular, at least within our friend group and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And it just kind of seemed to die down, but yeah, I mean the hype is kind of back for it, and I mean this helps it, and I always thought that it was only going to be an Xbox exclusive, but here we are coming to PC. So
yeah, I mean Halo 3 is my favorite video game of all time. I mean there is no game that there were so many. I swear to God, dude, we would spend hours every night after school playing this goddamn game. And for us, it wasn't even just going into matchmaking and playing something. We were playing these ridiculous custom games that a lot of our friends either created or found. Jaws was a big one, which was basically that you had these, I forget what map it was, but you were in the water and there was these poles set up and you were on top of the poles, and then one person was Jaws, and he was on the ground in waiting in the water, and he basically had full speed and everything like that, and a sword, while the other guys had shotguns, and he had to knock you down off the pole and then try and kill you, and try and kill as many people as he can. Games like that and games like Ice Cream Man.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. But
I mean, those are my favorite times on Halo. I mean, everything was cool, like multiplayer and stuff like that. But actually playing with the friends, also, I can't remember the map names, but yeah, the glitches you would find, the Jaws map. There was so many glitches on that map, and it was just trying to find them and exploit.
Yep.
Was something. I know my girlfriend is really into Halo, and I mean she doesn't play PC, but with Halo Reach coming to the Master Chief Collection, but I mean it's just I know I kind of joined the game late because my first Halo game was Halo 3.
Yeah.
And I didn't really I played a little bit after that, but not much. But I mean it's always been a very popular game.
Yeah, I had Halo 1 when I was in grade school still.
Yeah, my dad had Halo 1, and I think I remember playing it maybe that was for the original Xbox, and I remember playing it maybe a handful of times, but I don't really remember anything about it.
Right.
I couldn't really tell you what happened in the game.
Yeah, I mean, so I had Halo 1 for PC, actually. I still have it. And I would play back in the day. I don't think I ever finished it back then. I kept playing this first mission over and over because it was so weird. And then I had the original Xbox where I had Halo 2, and me and my uncle were really into that game for a long time. Every time I'd go over his house or he'd come over to my house, we would face each other one-on-one. I remember the one time we were in a heated gun battle. I'm almost dead. So you know what I do is I turn around and I get into a ghost and I run him over. And we made it a rule like no vehicles after that. So me and him would fight one on one. Halo 3 for the 360. Obviously. Played a bunch of that. Not much to be said there. And then Halo 4 for 360, or I'm sorry, Halo Reach was next, which I got the night like the night after. Wait, was that? Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Because I remember I turned it on like and played it like a couple hours before I had to go to school that day. And I was so excited to play again. I mean, it was an okay game. I never finished the campaign, but and it was a weird game at the time. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was pretty decent. It was fun to play. And then Halo 4, and I really liked Halo 4 because they did a lot of changes. They added sprint to the game and a whole lot of new weapons and everything. I really liked Halo 4. I wish I put a little more time into that game than I did, but it was really fun. What I want to do is with MCC is I wanted to play through all the campaigns at some point, just back to back to back to back. I might do that, especially with Reach coming in now. I might do that again. And then Halo 5 Guardians, I never got. It was released, I think, in 2015, 2016. Never got it. I'm not sure what the consensus is on the game. But it's been basically all those games I mentioned never were on PC. Halo 1 was on PC. So it's been a long time since come to PC. My thought process would be is that is like, well, yeah, because Microsoft is starting to link Xbox and PC gaming. Like, look at Sea of Thieves, which you can, if you buy on PC, you can buy or you have on Xbox too. It's they've been doing that recently, but it's been a while. I'm just really surprised that it's a Steam release. That's the surprising thing to me.
Yeah.
And then rest of the rest of the story about how they're doing this. So with the release of MCC on PC, they're actually going to release it in a staggered schedule, starting with Halo Reach and then moving its way up from Halo 1 through Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST to Halo 4. And then that'll be the MCC on PC. So there's that. And Reach will be added to Xbox One MCC if you already have it, which I do. So I'll be excited to jump back into that again and probably play some games. It's been a long time to play some Halo.
Yeah.
I was pretty decent at the game. Yeah, I love that series, man. Just absolutely love the series. I'm excited. I might buy it for PC. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like I said, I was not into Halo like everybody. Like I only really played with friends. Like I
Right.
wasn't like going out of my way to play a campaign and stuff like that. But like
Right.
the what I did play was always fun. Man, yeah, I definitely miss those days though, of, like Halo
Yeah,
3 with the
man.
custom game. Like I feel like we talk about it so much, like, but like that really was like the best times. Like
Mm.
just going on and playing, like, because we had a lot of friends that like we really didn't talk to like a whole lot, but like
Right.
then we'd get on Halo with them and like we'd always play.
I think no one
So
would say a thing in school.
yeah, no, it didn't happen.
Nope, never happens. It'd be like 7 or 8 of us in a party. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and
Freaking
the
ridiculous.
good old days where Xbox parties were flawless. The
Oh
Xbox
man.
360 parties. That's a
Man, man, Xbox. As soon as the Xbox One came out, is where gaming died
it
for
really did.
me.
It sucks. I know.
Uh,
Like
I
it
mean,
was supposed to be
listen.
the opposite, but
I mean, listen. We play a lot of games together now. I mean, it's just the 360. It was always okay. Who's on? Like
yeah,
all
and
these
like
people from high
everybody.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It
And
was
then
like
once the
how
one
many
came
people?
out, no one really stuck around.
Yeah,
Um, basically the only parties I get into for Xbox One now are with really these guys, Tyler, Brendy, and Zach. That's really all I get into a party with
yeah,
anymore. And then sometimes some of our SOs, but
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Man, I agree with that though. But
Weird.
yeah, the other quick pick that me and Bobby are going to discuss today is also video game related. So, Battlefield 5 and Battlefield in general are hopping on the train of the battle royale as they're coming out with their battle royale game called Firestorm. That is set to release on March 25th for the Xbox One, PC, and PS4, all of them.
Mhm.
So I will admit I have not. I don't have Battlefield 5. I
No, do
do.
I?
The last Battlefield I have is Battlefield 1, which I enjoyed. But like for me, like Battlefield games are a little bit like I'll play it for like a week and then I'll kind of get bored of it. Like
Yeah.
I can't like stay with it. Also, like I just feel like a lot like nobody really has it. So like again,
Yeah.
like I don't really like playing multiplayer games like by myself. Like I mean, I'll do it at some point, but like if I'm getting on Xbox by myself, like I'm usually playing like a story mode or something.
Hmm.
But that's kind of the main reason for Battlefield 5. But like, or Battlefield in general. But yeah, like I said, I haven't gotten Battlefield 5. But it's just from what I'm reading, and this is from GameSpot, it looks like it's just basically um like another content release, basically like almost like a DLC. And this is what's coming with it.
I think it'll be
Is
free. I'm sure it'll be free though, right?
that I'm trying to figure out. I believe so.
It says
And
available to all players on March 25th.
yeah, I believe so. Like I said, I think
Yeah.
it's it's basically just like a content update. Um, and like I said, that should be free for everybody. But the
Mhm.
trailer was released. Basically the reveal trailer was released. Me and Bobby just watched it, so
It's the most self-aware trailer I've ever seen, by the way, because
yeah.
it literally starts off with everybody like falling, from the sky, typical battle royale style, and then it's two groups of four. One goes into one house, one goes in the other. The first group on the right lights up the second house, and then all of a sudden you see just a flare pop out of the other one because that's all they were picked up on the inside. So this is a very self-aware battle royale.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of again, this is articles from GameSpot, and this is, I guess, at this point, is speculation, but not really. With the video that was played, it looks like there's going to be a solo, duo, and squads options.
And it'll be
Um,
64 players, I think.
yeah, 60. So it looks like it's going to support 64 players.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, there's it,
I mean, to last, you have to put in these type of modes now, man.
yeah. What I was about to say, can you really blame them?
No,
Like,
that's the thing, and because I mean, I've been critical on the show about battle royale game modes, right? I just think, I mean, personally, I just think they're the concept was cool, but it's so overdone now. Um, I just don't find any fun in it, especially playing by myself. Like, it's one thing if I hop on with you guys and we're playing like Fortnite or something like that every once in a while, which I haven't played in months, by the way. And
mhm,
uh, yeah, I mean that's fun, but to me, I'm not dying really to get better at any of these games. Like, it's
yeah,
just I just don't have that drive for this type of game. So I don't even have Battlefield 5, and this is not really going to make me buy Battlefield 5 at all. To each their own. It does look cool. The trailer gives it makes it look really cool, especially since they're apparently adding vehicles into this, including helicopters, tanks, and tractors. Because why not?
hmm.
But yeah, there were some helicopters and tanks in there, so that gets really interesting. This is supposed to be like, so this is basically PUBG with better vehicles. Basically,
So
is what this
let
seems to be.
let me ask you this question: like, are we
Okay.
coming to a point where like there's an oversaturation of battle royale? Because like you think about it, you've got Fortnite, you've got now
Mhm.
Apex Legends, you've got Blackout. This is coming,
Right.
PUBG. Like, is like, and to be honest, like I don't know if that's ever like if it's gonna stop because like I feel like they're if it continues to work they're going to keep making it. Like is there, I don't know, I almost feel like at some point there's got to be like an oversaturation of this.
I mean, it there always will be, but part of it's because of I mean, gaming's been basically exploded in recent years. Anybody can make a game at this point. And there's certain concepts that a lot of people just seem to like, and in this case, it's battle royale. Um, with so looking back to, the games that are currently still, or I guess in the official battle royale timeline, starts with H1Z1, goes
Hmm.
to PUBG, goes to Fortnite, goes to Blackout, goes to Apex Legends. So that's how many I just named. One, two.
5, I think,
Yeah,
or
5, and then Battlefield 5 will be 6.
6. Yeah.
Um, and there's others out there. There's totally accurate Battlegrounds, which is like a parody game, and there's a
Yeah,
bunch of other ones that were
I was
made.
gonna say like those are the main ones. Like I'm sure there's so many out
Oh
there.
yeah,
Like,
CS:GO got a battle royale mode a few months ago. Forgot about
mhm.
that. Never played it.
Yeah,
But it is there. So yeah, you're seeing these Tetris got a fucking battle royale last month.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was,
That's right.
but to be fair, that looks really fun. That's not really like fighting battle royale. It's basically who can survive in Tetris the longest, like the
Yeah.
or who can not get to the
Yeah.
top kind of thing.
Right.
That's different. I mean, to to answer your question, probably there's saturation, but the funny thing is, it doesn't seem to affect anybody.
Hmm.
And now that's due to a lot of reasons. There was a report that came out the other day that Ninja and I think Shroud's in there somewhere. The another popular Twitch streamer. He apparently got paid $1 million to stream Apex Legends by EA, which is insane.
Hmm.
Um, he got paid $1 million to promote that game. Um, and obviously, fans of his are going to play that game once they see him playing. It's why sponsorships still exist, and why you know you always want to buy the gear or play the game of your favorite player, right, or your
Yeah.
favorite streamer. So that's been around for years, but it doesn't seem the battle royale train does not seem to want to slow down. They keep coming out, and people keep playing them, and people see other people playing them, and then they'll hop on board, and then there'll be a whole complaint cycle, but then it'll stop, and then another one will come out, and then that'll be the new best one or whatever. Because Blackout came out, everyone's like, okay, yeah, this is it. Then
Yeah.
Apex Legends came out, and they're like, okay, wait, this
Exactly.
is it. Like
Well, I mean, that's what I
it's
was gonna
funny.
say. Like with the whole oversaturation thing, like I still think Fortnite's popular. Like, don't get me wrong, but like
Mm.
it's obviously taken a hit from where it was,
Yeah,
and like
Apex Legends, I think, had more unique players last month than
yeah,
Fortnite did.
it did. Yeah. So like that's what I was gonna say. Like, I
Mm.
mean, they're struggling, but you know that there's gonna be another one after Apex that's gonna like knock that. Like, so that's what like maybe it's not necessarily an oversaturation because players are going to keep playing it. It's kind of just the
Yeah.
fact that there's going to be a next in line,
Hmm.
and the game is eventually going to die. Like it doesn't matter what game it is, because
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like I said, Fortnite's not dead now. Actually, you know, me, Brendy, and his girlfriend and my girlfriend have been playing it a lot recently,
Yeah.
and getting back into it. And it's actually been a lot of fun. But you know, like we went for months without playing it, and you know, when when that was the biggest game, like literally my subscriptions for YouTube, like it was just filled with
Yeah.
Fortnite stuff,
Yeah.
and that's not the case anymore. It's more Apex and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, and like I said, I've been critical of the battle royale mode, but that's because I personally don't like it. It's fun with people, but it's not a game that I'm really dying to get on by myself and play. Like literally, the only time I'll get on by myself and play is either if I'm warming up because I know like I have you guys coming on or something like that,
yeah,
or I'm getting the game for the first time and I'll open up like, oh, what's this about, and then and play a round or two. Um, and people might ask, well, what do you want? Like, what would you want to set up our battle royale? I don't know. I don't know. I just what I don't like is the idea that everybody has to have this mode in their game for the game to be good. Like Battlefield 5, I don't know how long it's been around. But like imagine, I guess, Call of Duty, Black Ops 4 without the battle royale mode. Like, were people ready to write that game off if they didn't add Blackout to the game?
right,
Like that's my problem, is that I don't think battle royale needs to be in every game to be successful. Doesn't hurt anything to be there. I just don't like the fact that it's kind of the selling point at this point. I mean, Call of Duty's been
yeah,
an established franchise for years, and I know people have been highly critical of that series and where that's gone. I mean, obviously, starting with Advanced Warfare, and Infinite Warfare and everything like that, all that stuff. Yeah, I just don't like the fact that it's a selling point anymore, and that you need it to kind of survive in the gaming world now. But that's just me. I
yeah.
want people to appreciate and play and enjoy the games that they want to play, but this is just not for me.
I don't know. I always like whenever we play Call of Duty, I thought I always think of myself as an aggressive player. So
Right.
like like that kind of like I'm okay at battle. Like the problem is like Fortnite is a whole different animal with the
Yeah.
building. But I just play so aggressive. So like then it's like with battle royale, it's like well if my teammates are still alive, I gotta sit here the whole fucking time. So it's
Yep.
like that would
And
be the only thing for me. I mean, I like battle royale. I just like sometimes like Fortnite has this limited time mode that they put in, which is
mhm,
basically team deathmatch. And we played that the other day, and I enjoyed that so fucking much. Like
mhm.
because like you die and you respawn. And like I was being
I ain't
aggressive.
complain.
Like I think like it was me, Brendy. I think it was like the four of us. It was me, Brendy, and then our girlfriends. And
Yeah.
I think I had like 21 kills, and like one of like the next person down had like 9. Like it was just because like I'm used to that being aggressive and
Mhm.
like being able to go out and like not have to worry about basically dying. But like I do get why people like battle royale. It's just like I like it too. Don't get me wrong. It's just like sometimes I just need to change the pace.
Yeah. I was always a positional player, like playing objective. So, I
Yeah.
got into when Black Ops 2 was out, I was playing competitive and oh god, I put so many goddamn hours into that game. I'm scared to even look. Um, capture the flag. I'm running for the flag every goddamn time. Search and destroy, plant the bomb. Domination. I'm on the points, everything like that. Like I was the objective and positional player. So yeah, I think I'd definitely be pretty pissed dying and not being able to respawn kind of thing. But yeah, I kind of like it. Like the um my main thing with battle royale always was okay, cool. I'm running through a forest for 20 minutes and I'm looking for shit or I have shit and all of a sudden pop in the head, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's it, game over.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the most frustrating when you loot for so long, and then the
Yep.
first gunfight you get into, you die. But yeah,
H1Z1 was the biggest component of this. I was running for like ever. Like even my roommates were sitting there watching this sometimes. I'm running forever. Like I'm basically just holding down W on my keyboard, just running, 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 running. And all of a sudden I get to bed. I'm, oh, cool. Here's a building here. Pop. Where did he come
yeah,
from? I don't know. I'm dead. Now I have to go again. So I
yeah.
don't know. That's it's not for me. I'll play with friends. I have no problem doing that. It's fun when I do. I don't have a problem doing that. It's not something that I'm good at or that I want to get better at. I play with friends. I have some fun. And I log off and go play Rocket League or something.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how this does for Battlefield.
Sure, it'll be
Like,
fine.
like I said, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna be like the main thing with their game now. If that's gonna be take over multiplayer, but we will see with that. Before we move on to the NFL talk, we do have some news that broke right before the show. I don't know if it's breaking news or not, but we are going to talk about it here. So Kareem Hunt, who had the video come out last year of the altercation.
That
That
was
was
so late.
that was so late.
I couldn't get it up in time.
Had the altercation last season, with the woman. He was cut by the Chiefs and then signed by the Browns. And he has been suspended for 8 games by the NFL for the actions. So yeah, first I guess kind of first reactions, like I said, since this just broke. It's kind of one of those things again with the NFL. It's like so this is tough for me, right? Because, and I think we talked about this when this came out. Now, you don't want to discount any domestic violence because it's at the end of the day, it's all domestic violence. But you watch the video, there wasn't like yes, he did kick the woman. That's bad. It wasn't like over the top, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm also kind of comparing it to other situations. Obviously, Ray Rice is the big one, and he's been out of the league since. But you have other videos and stuff coming out about players, and it's like, you had Zeke last year. Where there, not to my knowledge at least, there wasn't any videos, but the thing he got. So like, it's just always this kind of loop with the NFL with domestic violence cases where it's like, is this enough or is this too much? Like, you know, I don't really know where to go with this here because like it's it's an 8 game policy. It's an 8 game suspension, which is pretty hefty. So it's like uh, this is where I am. So it's an 8 game suspension, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so you watch a video, it's like, damn, that's a lot. But then it's like you're dealing with domestic violence. 8 games is not enough. That's where I'm at right now. Like I just, it's kind of a tightrope you gotta walk. I don't
It's a
know.
double-edged sword. In the NFL, 8 games is a lot. That's most of the season. By
Half
that
the
point, you're
season.
talking about playoff contenders. It's hard to say what's the right call. I'm trying to think of what I've said before. I mean, in these situations, you really don't have a choice but to take it case by case most of the time. I mean, no matter how bad his actions were, like compared to others, I think that the NFL always needs to take a kind of firm stance on this. They need to tell players, look, it doesn't matter if you shove her, like don't
Yeah.
stop, like you can't be doing that crap. Um, I mean, it's
Like,
it is a hefty suspension.
yeah, like I'm saying, because it's tough to walk that line. Like, and I realize that like you can't just be
Yeah,
like, oh well, he only kicked her, like whatever, like,
yeah.
and
No, we can't be doing that.
didn't like literally knock her out. Like you can't like do that.
Right.
So like but that's the thing. Do you have to have set suspensions? Like that's so terrible to say because it's like domestic violence case, but like, do you have to have set suspensions for domestic violence at this point? Like,
I think my personal opinion is that a minimum suspension it really depends. Um, it should be if it's a minimum suspension, it should be minimum suspension pending an investigation. Like,
mhm,
please, dear God, investigate every single claim, right? Like, let's not make it this blanket thing. It's like as soon as something comes out about somebody, uh, immediately suspend them, right? Or unless you suspend them for a game or two until you figure out what's going on, but then that's going to cause a bunch of problems by itself. So I feel like the best answer is always just take it case by case and do your best to um match your suspension with the severity of the crime. But I also understand that there's a lot of people who think, and rightly so, that anybody who's guilty of this kind of thing shouldn't be in the league.
mhm,
And that's not a bad thought, and I really have no argument against that. These kind of actions are way too rampant in this league and in sports around the world. Really, we've seen it in the NHL, we've seen it in the NBA, we've seen it in the NFL. Um, it's just so tough talking about this every time this happens. I don't know the extent of what Kareem Hunt did, but it was obviously bad to get in this suspension. Um, Now, I mean, you can call the statements bullshit, and I wouldn't have too much of a fight with you. I mean, he's saying he's planning on taking he accepted responsibility to the league and he accepted the suspension. He said he's going to take advantage of this is according to the Cleveland Browns official website. He said he's committed to take advantage of the available resources to help him grow. He's going to get some help. So I guess if he's doing all that, then he's doing the right thing to come back from this, I guess is the
mhm,
idea. So we'll have to see with him. It really sucked when this all came to light. Um, he got cut from the Chiefs, and the Chiefs made a really good call and a really big gamble with that. They were still in the playoff race and everything, and that
yeah,
he was a star. I don't know if he'll ever bounce back from this. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. He's in Cleveland, which Cleveland is now stacked. We will get to that.
mhm.
But in terms of the suspension, was probably the right call to make. Happy to see the NFL kind of came down with the hammer. Um, yeah, we'll have to see if he does this again or he has another incident. I'm sure the NFL is going to suspend him for at least a season.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's just so tough. Like,
Yeah,
cause it's almost like you have to take it by case, but then at the same time, it's like I feel like sometimes there should be like a minimum. Like I don't know. I mean, eight. You know, I guess 8 games is a half a season,
right?
but like I almost feel like that should be the minimum, like for
I
domestic violence
I would
cases.
take that. I guess my issue with the minimum comes with how quick they'd be willing to do it.
Hmm.
Like that would be my only problem. I would hope that you would only give the minimum if after an investigation. Like go
Right.
investigate the claims first, and then if he did what he did, then give him the 8. And if he
Hmm.
does something even worse, and it's really hard to talk about like what's worse than one thing. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's pain is terrible. I mean, this is terrible regardless of what of how long the games are. So if the minimum, I'd be fine with the minimum as long as they didn't immediately throw it on somebody without investigating first. So I actually think 8 games is the right call, and that's enough for somebody to think twice about what they're about to do. Because it's half a season, man, and that's forfeited pay. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh,
And he's
uh,
not making much this year either because
no,
the Browns signed him for dirt cheap because of this
right,
already.
and
So
and he might explode when he comes back. It'll be really interesting to see, and there's going to be people calling for his head forever. So,
yeah,
it's a tough situation always with these kind of stories, and I mean, I think I speak for both of us and for the rest of the guys on the show. We hate talking about this stuff. We really do.
yeah,
At least I do. And it's really hard to talk about. There's no what I can always gather each time, and when we talk about this and kind of debate certain things, is that there's no right answer when it comes to these things. What needs to happen is that these guys need to just not be doing this. They need to just either get some extra counseling or something like that, so that they know they can't be doing this kind of crap because it runs so rampant in the league.
mhm,
It's an epidemic, man.
yeah. The NFL for sure. Um, but on that note, we will right now cut to me and Brendy talking about some soccer and also Trey Young. Yeah, let's go to that right now. All right, and now we're gonna do some more quick picks. We're gonna do some soccer and basketball, and now it's me and my boy Brendy. What's up, my man? What is up? Let's
What?
go. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a hype in here because I'm a little tired. Just came back from work.
Dude, you just freaking hydroplaned the shit out of that.
I did. I'm sorry. I got a little excited. I that was my last hurdle until I had to go down to Georgia tomorrow. I'm actually a little hyped because work fucking sucked today. But anyway,
Oh,
we're
we'll
gonna.
complain about it. Why don't you?
I will. We're gonna wrap up and preview some of the UEFA and CONCACAF round of 16 for UEFA League, which just ended, and CONCACAF quarterfinals just ended, and a lot of results to talk about for both events. First, we're going to talk about UEFA, and I'll me being more of the UEFA Champions League fan, I'll kind of talk about it because there was a crazy amount of results. The first one being Ajax and Real Madrid. The three-time defending champions, Real Madrid, coming into the game with the 2-1 lead, coming home, and you would think that they have it all but wrapped up. But Ajax had other plans. Real Madrid did get a red card in this game, but that was late in the game. It wasn't even really, affecting the game. And Ajax comes in, scores 2 goals within the first 18 minutes of the game, and scored 3 before Real Madrid even scored to make the final score 4-1, and then moving on with a 5-3 aggregate. And like I said, nobody really seen this coming, especially going back to to Madrid with the lead and the 2 away goals. Did not see it coming, but fair play to Ajax. Showed out and proved them wrong. So we will have a new champion UEFA Champions League, excuse me, this year, which is pretty refreshing because I was kind of a little tired of seeing Real in it and winning it every year. Um, and obviously that begs the question to not begs the question, but a lot of people are saying obviously with Ronaldo's departure over the past year and they're kind of falling apart. Interesting note about this, by the way, which is kind of a big like big deal for world football in general. So the manager that they won the 3 titles under was Zinedine Zidane, who obviously is a legend in football, in soccer. Excuse me. I know I'm gonna. I just say it. I know
Jeez.
I'm American. I shouldn't say it anyway. But the manager, who I can't think of his name right now, who was managing Real Madrid over this season, got fired, and they brought Zinedine back in. So he will be managing them for the future, and he was going to be a hot commodity this summer. So that was kind of a big deal. But yeah, Ajax goes through. The next games we had were Tottenham and Dortmund. Oh my God, Tottenham took care of Dortmund pretty easily. Won over the 2 legs 4-0. Win this game 1-0. And basically make light work of them, except, you actually look at the stats of this game. Dortmund had more shots, a lot more possession, just, couldn't finish when it mattered, and Harry Kane gets the 1 goal for Tottenham, so they move on to the quarterfinals. The next set of games was Porto and Roma. This one, coming into the actual round, I thought this would kind of be a toss up. I thought Roma maybe had an edge, but it turned out that Porto comes back, and in this, I actually watched this game, and it was very entertaining. They tied it up, and it went to extra time, and then in the 117th minute, on a penalty, they scored and ended up winning on aggregate.
Was that the one with the bad call? Or not the bad call, but the questionable call?
No, I mean the one I showed you was the Manchester one, if that's what
Okay.
you're talking about.
Probably.
There was a questionable call on this though, so I don't know, but yeah, 117th minute they get a penalty and slot it home, and they move on, which I don't know if it's a shock. I think Roma might have been the favorite, but Porto is a pretty good team, and they move on there, and then one of 2 that are near and dear to my heart. Manchester United, with all the odds against them, go to Paris and beat PSG in dramatic fashion. As Brendy kind of talked about a second ago, a little bit of controversy at the end, but
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, to be fair, we'll get to that in a second. But to be fair, they played very well. Lukaku scores 2 minutes into the game to give him hope, and then Bernat comes back and scores. So it's 1-1 at that point, and it's kind of looking, not the greatest, but Lukaku, again, on a really, one of the best goalkeepers of all time, Buffon, fumbled a ball right to him on the wet surface, and it was 2-1. The game went on, and in the 94th minute, well, the 92nd minute, the incident happened, but the goal was in the 94th minute. A shot outside the box from Diego Dallo of Manchester United hits Kim Pembe in the arm. The question at first, they went like it was a regular corner kick, and that was that, and then the VAR came out, and all hell broke loose basically at the stadium after the goal.
Yep.
It was awarded a penalty. I will say this, I was on the fence about it. Obviously, as a United fan, I was happy that they gave it. A lot of the anchors and stuff like that, especially on well, I mean, I say especially because it was British network, so maybe there is bias there, but majority of the people did say they thought it was the right call. I think kind of the letter of the law there is if it's in a not a natural position. I wouldn't say it was like an unnatural position. Like he didn't have it directly to his side. The ball hits his arm, and they give a penalty, and Marcus Rashford is the hero and slots it in, and United with basically I think the more remarkable thing in this game is they basically played this game with Romelu Lukaku, their obviously their goalkeeper De Gea, and then a bunch of like under 22 players. Like it was ridiculous. Like because like their best players were out for this game. They had 3 or 4 players out with injury. Pogba had a red card, so he wasn't in this game. So they won this game with a very young team. Not to mention that they, just like I said, had a lot of injury problems. Guys fighting through. They had a guy get injured in this game, but they move on. So very excited there. The next one don't want to spend too much time on because it was literally a whitewash. Manchester City, after the very good first leg, comes back to England and smashes Schalke 7-0, and wins over 2 legs 10-2. The stats reflect that. In that game, the possession was 73-27. Shots on target was 11-1. So not much of a fight there. It was a good first leg, but after everything, it didn't really work out, and Man City moves on. Juventus and Atletico, another thrilling game. Just the legend of Cristiano Ronaldo continues. After the first leg, it was 2-0 Atletico, and Ronaldo said, I don't know where he said it, if it was in an interview or on social media, he said, I will score a hat trick this game and we will win. What does he do? He scores a hat trick in this game and they win. He scores a 27th minute goal, a 49th minute goal, and a penalty in the 86th minute, and they move on. Probably one of the favorites at this point, I would say, in my opinion. Maybe them and Liverpool, maybe Manchester City at this point are kind of the favorites for me. And they move on as well. This one's tough, but I kind of seen this coming. My 2 favorite teams in the world are Bayern and Man United, and Bayern got what they deserved, especially with how they're playing this year, which has been awful. Liverpool beats them 3-1 in Germany. And it's funny because this game, I'm thinking that Liverpool, like to me, they won this game. I didn't even think they played their best, which is sad. That's how bad we've been this year. Not much to talk about here. I mean, it was a pretty bland game. Sadio Mane has 2 goals, and the goal that Bayern did score was an own goal. So that ends 3-1. And then the last game of the round of 16 was Barcelona and Lyon, and Barcelona took care of business after a shaky first leg. They end up winning. Well, it was a 0-0 draw. They end up winning 5-1 back in Spain, and Messi with 2 goals there. So that sets up a round of 16 where the draw happened today. Interesting, out of the last 8, 4 are English teams, so that's a little bit interesting. Excuse me. So the first game we have is Tottenham and Man City. I like Man City's chances here. I think I think they're the team. I think they're one of the favorites in my opinion. So the first game of that will be April 9th. Liverpool drew Porto, so pretty fortunate for them there. The 2 favorites, I would say, had very favorable draws. They draw Porto. Juventus draws Ajax. I think Juventus should take care of them, although Ajax played very well against Real, so you can never discount them. And Man U plays Barcelona, which I'm excited for. It's going to be definitely a challenge, but I think I honestly think it's something we can overcome. It's going to be very important, that first game, which is in England, and that's going to be very important to see. You don't want Barcelona scoring 2 goals and then going back to Spain. So if we can at least hopefully get a win in the first leg and then see what happens second leg. But those games will start April 9th and will end April 17th, and then after that the semifinals will happen in late April, so we will cover that. But that is all for the UEFA Champions League. Let's move on to the CONCACAF, which Brendy, I'm sure, will have some strong opinions on, and he will get to that soon, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'll touch on Atlanta United last, but I just wanted to say, so New York Red Bulls, they were placed against Santos, and their first leg they lost 2-0, with Santos getting 2 away goals. So it really looked like it was all, but it was basically like it was the end game for them. Um, but then in leg two, the New York Red Bulls tie it up within the first 10 minutes, make it 2-2 aggregate. But then come the second half, Santos just destroyed them, and that game actually ended up finishing 4-2. So Santos moved on from there, and that's actually I'm actually slightly disappointed that someone like what's his name, Bradley Wright Phillips isn't gonna go anywhere in the Champions League yet again, because he's had a historic career. So it'd be nice to see him actually win something for once. But so not happening this year though. So as for the Houston Dynamo, though, they played UANL, and again, it's kind of the same story, except there was basically no light for Houston Dynamo at all. Houston Dynamo actually got in this tournament by beating the Philadelphia Union in the U.S. Open Cup, which was kind of a slaughter fest. I'm just thinking back to the Open Cup, like they were just not prepared for Philadelphia was not prepared for that.
No, they definitely weren't.
But UANL advanced after winning their second leg 1-0, advancing 3-0 in aggregate. So Houston didn't get any goals there. Now Sporting Kansas City, they got a pretty good draw going against the one non-Mexican team in Independiente, which I would, obviously as a Atlanta United fan, like you want to go against the bad teams, but Independiente actually won their first leg 2-1 at home. So it was looking like they might actually give Sporting Kansas City a fighting chance, because Sporting KC is one of the best teams in Major League Soccer right now, or they historically have always been. But then when the second leg shifted to Kansas City, there was no hope for Independiente, and Kansas City won 3-0, so they advanced as well. Now let's move on to Atlanta United versus Monterrey. I want to be clear when I say this. It's early in the season, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But let me just recap really quick. Okay, Atlanta United travels to Guadalupe to play Monterrey. I got to watch this entire game, and I was actually kind of worried that I would have to work, and but luckily I was able to get someone to take a shift. Like, I literally wanted to miss work just to watch this game, just to see how Atlanta United would play.
All right.
So the game starts. Monterrey gets a penalty kick, or not a penalty kick. Whatever. Gets a penalty in the 17th minute. So it's 1-0 early on. It's like, okay, you know what? Monterrey's a good team. They've got a rich history. So, if the game ends 1-0 as an Atlanta United fan, it's like I'm pretty content with that. And for the most part, in the second half, Atlanta United was actually putting on some pressure. In the first half, they were doing nothing. But in the second half, Atlanta United was actually putting on some shots. And I was kind of hoping one of them would go in. I think the keeper would actually have... There's one save that was just amazing. I can't remember exactly. It's really late in the game. But when the 80th minute hit, the wheels for Atlanta United just fell off. The players just tired. Everyone looked dead, out of sync. 2 back-to-back goals by Monterrey. And Atlanta United loses the first 3-0. Now, I said if the game ended 1-0, I would have been fine. I still would have probably been fine if it ended 2-0, because like Atlanta United, they were down in their first in their first matchup against Herediano, and they came back and just destroyed them. Now, I didn't necessarily think that was going to happen with Monterrey, but Atlanta United always has a tendency to respond really well. Unfortunately, that was not the case. This game, I don't really have much to say about this game because I wasn't actually able to watch it. I do know Martinez scored the only goal of the game, but Atlanta United, they won that game 1-0. They lost, obviously they lost the aggregate, but one interesting note I heard on Twitter, it's the first time that Monterrey has lost to an MLS team in like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, so I thought that was actually really interesting. Not like it means anything because they're still advancing, but I want to talk about my boy Frank de Boer for a minute. And when I say my boy, that's just because like I'm trying to be as nice as I can, because look, it's early. I wish I had listened to you when you had said like, oh, there's warning signs for Frank de Boer, you might want to watch out. And like I kind of took it with a grain of salt because there was actually a lot of kind of the same kind of speculation with Tata Martino when he was first hired. When he was the manager of Argentina and Barcelona, even for a short stint. Now, obviously, like Barcelona is like one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
I think any experience in Barcelona is good experience. But there's something about Frank de Boer so far from what I'm seeing as an Atlanta United fan that just isn't making any sense. So in the first leg of the series against Monterrey, Frank de Boer did not make one sub until added time.
Yeah, that's not great.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I remember like Monterrey was like sending out their subs in like the 60th and 70th minute, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's probably our turn to start subbing, and and then like I don't understand. Like, how do you not, like, the players are literally dead on the ground. Like, the only thing keeping them up is the fact that they still got to play for another 10 minutes. And
right.
you're just standing there on the sidelines playing your stupid 3-4-3 formation that literally makes no sense. I don't think Atlanta United has ever played 3-4-3 under Tata Martino.
So, yeah, I if you're not familiar with soccer terms and formations, basically the first number is how many defenders you have, the second number is how many midfielders, and the third number is how many attackers. So if you're playing a 3-4-3, 3 defenders, 4 midfielders, 3 attackers. It's tough because kind of the way soccer is going right now, a 3-back formation is it's like a 3-back or a 5-back formation with the wing backs like moving up is becoming very popular in the game now. So it's something that I think it's something that I think maybe teams are trying to adapt to. Now, I will say this: I haven't watched any Atlanta United, so I don't know how they use that 3-4-3. I don't know if their midfielders come back more or their wingers up top are coming back more.
I'm pretty sure they just stay in the midfield.
Yeah, I mean it's a dangerous formation, first of all, and second, if you don't have the right players to play that system, which kind of sounds like the case, it's not going to be a good time.
So with Tata, a lot of times what Atlanta United would do is they would have 3 or 4 defenders, and then depending on how many defenders, they would have 4 or 5 midfielders. The two extra midfielders would, like, one would go up, one would stay back, and then they would have 2 attackers. Usually the attackers would be Joseph, and then either Miggy or Ezekiel Barco. But that's a formation that has worked really well for them. But to come in, this Frank de Boer guy and is completely changing the system to a point where changing the system to something that Atlanta United has absolutely zero experience with.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even blame the players at that point. It's because okay, I will say there were plenty of mistakes that the players were making throughout these games. There were so many unnecessary turnovers and stupid passes that it's hard to blame the formation on that. But it's really not helping the case when it just seems like the players are all out there confused.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Frank de Boer has not had much success. Obviously, his most recent job, besides Atlanta United, was in England in Crystal Palace. And I can't remember the exact stat, but I think through 10 games they were winless, and it was the most games the team had never gotten a win or something like that. He gets fired, and Crystal Palace actually came back and somehow avoided relegation, which good on them for that because he put them in a hole. But
Well,
he was a manager at Ajax for a while as well. I don't really agree with his tactics. Is my whole thing.
Well, so that's a fair point. What I'm wondering is was Frank de Boer really the best option? Because
Yeah.
here's what I'm wondering. Atlanta United just came off an MLS Cup championship in their second season, and they are currently ranked as the most valuable MLS franchise by Forbes. It's how was your best option Frank de Boer?
Yeah.
What was the free agent market just dead or something?
I don't really know. I mean, it's
I will say with the MLS offseason, a lot with the MLS offseason, it's hard to get international coaches because a lot of
that's what I was just about to say.
Because they're all hired.
Right. Yeah, I mean the MLS is we have races for the Premier League and the Bundesliga and all those they're coming down to the end. I think there's 6 games left for the Premier League or something like that. The MLS season is just starting, so yeah, you're right about that. I was just about to say that. It's kind of tough for me to say about who is out there because I mean I know to an extent who's out there coaching wise, but those guys are want to stay in Europe. I'm pretty sure, a lot of them at least. And I'm not really saying that because it's the MLS. I'm basically saying that because I think just location wise they want to stay in Europe. But yeah, like I said, I'm not a fan of his at all. And I said about when he got hired, I said, look, I mean, you guys have a very talented team, and you guys should be winning the MLS no problem. I just thought that I was a little hesitant about him, and it's kind of came to fruition a little bit. But I would be very interested to see what happens throughout the season. They actually play Philly this Sunday, and Philly has had an awful start to the season, so maybe that's they get a win there. And
well, I hope so.
Follow.
I honestly if Atlanta United comes out with a 3-4-3 formation, though, I kind of hope they lose just so something
changes.
Something will change because
Right.
for the first game of the season, Atlanta United played DC United, and they lost that. And honestly, I wasn't actually too surprised about that because for some reason, Atlanta United they've lost every single season opener they've played so far, which you probably wouldn't suspect if you see them play mid-season. Right. But yeah, they're 0-3 on season openers so far, so there's a fun fact for you. And then their first game at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they played FC Cincinnati, and they drew 1-1, and that was kind of okay.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe a game against Philly is what they need, but I don't know.
Going back to the CONCACAF real quick, out of the teams remaining, are you rooting for Kansas City being the American team?
Yeah, I mean, really just about any non-Mexican team is fine with me as long as it's not like um I yeah, I probably just have to go with Kansas City.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think for me, like my favorite league is the Premier League. Basically because I get the most access to it. So it is, it's cool to see four Premier League teams for me in the Champions League. Yeah, in the sorry, I keep saying UEFA, Champions League in the last four, four out of the last eight. I think that's pretty, good. And then obviously, for the CONCACAF, I think it's always nice to see a American team win since Philly will probably never be in it.
I will say, like, CONCACAF has like a very weird setup when it comes to Canada. So they have this thing called the Canadian Championship, which is basically like a low tier championship that like really like not even the MLS teams in Canada really care about.
Hmm.
It's basically a way so that a team located an MLS team located in Canada gets a free pass to the Champions League every year.
Hmm.
And for like the past few years, it's been Toronto, um, which is kind of funny because like they really sucked last year.
Yeah, they had a fall from grace.
Yeah, and I really don't understand like. Well, I mean, I guess I understand the format, but I do think it is a little cheap that a sucky Canadian team can get in no problem.
Yeah,
But I beg to differ.
yeah. But yes, we will continue our soccer coverage when the next round concludes, and maybe after the first leg, we'll kind of see what timing is like. But yeah, we are getting down to the nitty gritty for both UEFA and CONCACAF, excuse me. So it'll be something to watch, and especially, I mean, I still have a dog in the fight with Man U. I think it's going to be tough, but you never know. They can surprise, especially with how they played since they got their new manager. But let's wrap up our quick picks here with a little NBA rookie talk. Uh, you know, Brendy, being a Atlanta Hawks fan, has seen Trae Young a lot. Trae Young, by the way, coming into the season with a lot of critics because I don't know why, but everybody loved to hate Trae Young in college.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it's been as always a very good year for rookies with him and Doncic, and Aiton's doing decent with Phoenix. So what's your whole take on this? And you can kind of, you know, take it away.
So I don't really think there's any doubt that Luka Doncic is going to win Rookie of the Year. So that like that's not really what I'm going to argue. I will say Trae Young is like almost like a lock for like second place. I feel like,
Yeah.
which is kind of a shame because I was really rooting for the guy. At least it does appear he'll probably get an all rookie first team. So that's
Yeah.
definitely a good sign.
Yeah, he should lock that up.
Yeah, but as for Trae Young, I'm starting to believe like okay, so both like with Trae Young and Luka Doncic. But since I know more about Trae, I'll just focus on him. I'm starting to feel like we're seeing like I feel like this could be like a potential future like play like I guess it's a playoff matchup, it'd have to be the finals, but
Right.
this could be a potential finals matchup, in 4 or 5 years. If all of the prospects for both of the teams, continue to grow. I will say I think the Hawks are on the right track. With John Collins, Torian Prince, and if they're looking to move Kent Bazemore later, that'll save up some cap space. I will say that the Hawks definitely appear to be right on schedule, if not like slightly ahead of schedule, because they're all growing really well, and the Hawks actually own the Mavs draft pick next year.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, I think it's as long as it's not top 5, I believe. So Atlanta could potentially have 2 first round draft picks, which would be great. And unfortunately, the only thing that the Mavs got going for them right now is Luka Doncic. So they're probably a little bit behind, but I don't think we can. I don't think we should underestimate how great these two players can be, um, especially Trey Young. Just from what I've seen, like the man is putting up 20, 30 points like consistently, like night after night. And then of course he had a 49-point game in quadruple overtime against the Bulls. And I know you guys were like giving me a lot of flack for saying, "Oh, he got 49 points in a quadruple overtime game," but I looked into it. Like the man had 34 points at the end of regulation. So
I mean, I will say this: the 49 points at any point is nothing to sneeze about. It was just that it was quadruple overtime, so he had a lot. He basically had a quarter and a half more than anybody else would of regularly. But yeah, I mean, 49 points obviously is very impressive anyway.
Yeah, I've really loved what the Hawks have done so far this season. Their players are going really well. They've got a great coach in Lloyd Pierce, former Sixers assistant coach. Which I'm really relieved that they went the Sixers route. In that terms, like I would have been really upset if they had hired like a Golden State assistant or a San Antonio assistant because first of all, like okay, I think Golden State for the most part, like how do I word this without how do I put this? Okay. I feel like a lot of times they don't necessarily need the coaching,
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Because I mean, look at Luke Walton in Los Angeles. Like the only reason that team is like even remotely in the playoff hunt is because of LeBron. It has nothing to do with Luke Walton. Like, does Luke Walton even have like any serious experience? Coaching coaching. Yeah, like he's a head coach, but
right.
But he does not appear to like have that major experience because like I remember like when he was still on the Golden State Warriors coaching staff, the Warriors were often criticized for like not really listening to their coach and kind of just doing their own thing. So I thought the hire was a little weird. So I would have been really upset if the Hawks went that route. I would have also been upset if they went like the Spurs route as well because if you're gonna go the Spurs route, you might as well just keep Mike Budenholzer around. And good thing for Mike Budenholzer, looks like he's gonna win another Coach of the Year.
I was gonna say he's doing quite fine right now in Milwaukee.
Yeah, so I'm really happy for Bud. I was sad to see him go, but I wasn't surprised, so
right.
That's all right. But Hawks are doing it right. They've got they got a new GM not too long ago, and the future's looking bright because like they've got a bunch of draft picks. Like they've got the Mavs next year or this year, excuse me, and then I think they got like the Cavs the year after that or something. So like they're loaded up. Like they've quietly loaded up on the draft picks. Like I know like with Philly during their tanking years, it's like they're trading away everyone, and like it was clear like they were getting a bunch of draft picks. But I feel like the Hawks for the most part have kind of done it quietly. And so far it's paid off. So I'm really happy to see how it's going.
It's funny that looking back now with what they've kind of done to start their careers, how the whole like Doncic was drafted by the Hawks, and then they basically traded. Like it was like this whole trade thing. So like it'll always go down as like them kind of being traded for each other. And yeah, you're kind of right. I think Doncic has definitely been. I think, like you said, I think he's the runaway rookie of the year. But Trae Young has had a good year.
Oh yeah,
and still on a very young team as well. So, I think the Mavs, I will say, are a team that I could see kind of if they can get maybe like a free agent and like a good draft pick to come in, they could definitely do some damage because they got KP obviously, over the season, and you got Doncic there. They could kind of make, I don't want to say like a big three or something, but if they get maybe one or two core players and have a couple rookies make their way up, they could be a good team in a couple years, especially any team with Doncic on it.
Well, one thing I am worried about the Mavs right now is just like really the biggest problem I have with them is their age.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they got Dirk who's like 50 years old, and then then a couple, like a bunch of old guys really, and then you have a bunch of young guys, and I really think you need a mix. I remember, I know I keep bringing this back, but I remember when the Sixers back in what was it, 2013, 14. I'm pulling this up just to make sure I'm reading this right. They had one guy that was like older than 23 years old, and that was Jason Richardson.
Yeah, I remember those days. God damn.
Yeah. And it's like okay, like you need an old guy to kind of show the younger guys what to do. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think with the right signings, the Mavs could definitely be on the right page.
Yeah, it'll kind of be interesting to see down the stretch with this, and also really the races for playoff spots, as we're coming down to that as well. And I'm sure that'll something we cover. But for now, we will move on to the big topic of the week, which is going to be a lot to talk about, trust me. And that was me and Bobby. So we will get to that now. And as we talk about some NFL free agency, because it was a fucking shitstorm for about 2 days, everything happened. So let's go to that now. Me and Bobby talking NFL free agency and trades. All right. And now we're going to move on to our NFL offseason talk. There's been so much to cover. This has been one of the craziest off seasons, and for me at least, in the recent NFL.
We couldn't keep up in fucking Discord. Like it was
literally
impossible for us to keep up.
We had fucking fake trades. We had a player that thought he was going to go to a team and then reversed it. Like it's been crazy.
A franchise ruined because they're stupid, beyond stupid. I don't get any of this.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So we have a bunch here. We're kind of going to run through the list. I don't have every single thing here. I tried to highlight some of the bigger ones, or the ones that pertain to our teams, me and Bobby in particular, and kind of just go through this. And I'm sure after we record, there's even going to be more stuff happening. But let's start with this happened. So the new year started for the NFL on March 11th. It was either March 11th or March 13th. I can't remember, but basically that's when everything was made official. So the stuff that we covered earlier in the year, like the Flacco stuff, that was made official. So we're not going to cover that. We're just going to cover the stuff that happened. So the first one with my team, the Denver Broncos traded Case Keenum to the Washington Redskins for a 6th-round pick in the 2020 draft. This move was made for the Redskins in part because they don't know if they're probably not going to have Alex Smith this year with the gruesome injury he had last season. Terrible. And for the Broncos, I mean, obviously they have Flacco now. Elway actually came out. It's funny because Elway came out, I think, like 2 or 3 days before the trade, and he's like, in an ideal world, we would like to have Case as the backup. And then they traded him. I mean, look, in a salary cap game, like it's just you can't have that. So I mean, we're still going to be paying some of it. But I mean, we do have a little bit of cap relief because of that.
Right.
So basically, I think if I believe correctly, I think they're like splitting some of his salary. But I mean, like I said, for the Broncos, I mean, they have a little bit of cap space, and And hopefully, this prompts Elway to get a guy either this year or next year at the quarterback position to be behind Flacco to be our next quarterback. But yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it is a minor deal. But I mean, now for the Redskins at least, they have at least a little bit of. It's not a great option, but they have at least something there. And look, I mean, Keenum obviously got the contract he did with Denver because what he did in Minnesota. So maybe that he reclaimed some of that. You never know. He was obviously on a really good team there in Minnesota and was a product of a very good system. But you never know. I mean, he as a Broncos fan, look, he had a lot of mistakes last year and cost us a lot of games, but he did show signs of really good play. So we'll see how that kind of works out for the.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. The next big news we have quarterback wise is Nick Foles got his payday.
Oh man, yeah,
Nick Foles.
It had to happen.
All I gotta say is like I'm not an Eagles fan by any means, but like for some reason I've always liked Nick Foles since he's been in the league, and he had some hardships. I mean, like I've seen I don't know if it was a ESPN thing or something, but it was a few years ago about how he was almost out of the league, and Andy Reid brought him in Kansas City, and from there has just what has happened since then has kind of been amazing. Obviously, the Super Bowl MVP, and he gets his payday, 4-year deal with the Jaguars for $88 million. 50.125 of that is guaranteed. And with that side note, Blake Bortles also got cut because of that, so he is now a free agent. And I'm sure he'll get signed somewhere as a backup, or maybe to a team that has a quarterback who is, like maybe honestly, like the example I would give is like a team like the Redskins, like a team that kind of has a starting quarterback, but could be in a battle,
but doesn't at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah, good for Nick Foles. Like I'm very happy for him. I do have some questions about that because in my opinion, now this, maybe it gets the hot take button ready. I'm not sure, but I think Nick Foles was a product of a very good system, like a very good system.
Okay.
Because
all right, I want to hear this out.
Because the reason that Doug Peterson, the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, was a goddamn genius because they did the whole thing with a run pass option, and that was the whole thing. The whole thing about the Eagles was run pass option. How do you stop it? Blah blah blah. Well, it never got stopped, and Nick Foles did really well with that, like very well.
Sure.
And I think he just flourished with Peterson. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be terrible. I'm not saying that with Jacksonville. No. I just don't know if he succeed. Like if he is going to be where he's at. Like I think this might be one where we look back. Maybe I'm not again. I don't think he's going to be terrible, but I don't know if he's worth what they paid him. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Because I think he's a good quarterback, but he succeeded very well under a good system, and I think that he may struggle a bit. And then it's just going to depend. I mean, it's also what he's working with as well. With the Eagles, with their Super Bowl season, they had Alshon Jeffrey and a lot of talented running backs and stuff like that. With Jacksonville, they have Leonard Fournette back there, and the receiving core I don't think is as good as the one that the Eagles had the Super Bowl winning year. Yeah, I don't know. Nick Foles is very talented, and I think that he could do well. I just don't know if for what he got paid, he's worth that. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money to dish out.
It is a ton of money. I mean, I always liked Nick Foles, even with his first stint with the Eagles. I my thing with him is that he was able to take hits and get right back up and be able to throw the ball. He didn't really have anybody helping him though at the time. So I guess that kind of helps your argument though, because he had decent receivers. He had a good system with Doug Peterson. I think he's still talented. I don't know about the money, but I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but he's somebody who could do some damage for a little while. I'm not sure. I don't really know who he's throwing to, but
I for some reason, like, I'm blanking on, like, I know a couple of the receivers, like, but D.D. Westbrook, who's kind of been a guy that came up recently. But they lost Allen Robinson last year to Chicago, so like, I don't want to say they're no names because they are receivers on the rise. I'm trying. I can't think of his first. Keelan Cole is another one they have.
Sure.
But like, these are guys that are not superstars by any means.
Yeah, I mean, so if he has someone, if I feel like if he has halfway decent receivers or people to throw to, he's gonna be fine. We'll have to see if he's worth the money. So we're gonna have to see in his first season. Really, we'll be able to tell pretty quickly. But there's something to be said for Carson Wentz getting hurt, Nick Foles stepping up, and a good system can make a quarterback. But when you get to a Super Bowl after not playing for most of the season, I think that speaks something for his skill by a lot. So I think he still has some skill on him, and I think he'll be able to take that to Jacksonville. I guess the question becomes: is he worth the money? Is he actually as good as he showed himself to be in Philadelphia? Because before that, he was making the rounds in the NFL.
So, I mean, he is 30 now.
Right.
So I mean, it's not.
He can still play, man. I mean, he's still got some time.
It's funny because, 30 is really, for any other sport, is you're starting to get to that older level, but that's still basically your prime.
Right.
But in the NFL, with just the shelf life of players, it's like 30 in the NFL is like old.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of have to see how he pans out. I just don't know. I'm a little hesitant. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think that it's possible he flops, and if he does, I wouldn't be surprised. You're what? So 88 over. He's getting paid $22 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a gamble. I don't know.
It is a gamble. It is a gamble, and this is where he has to prove himself in a team like Jacksonville, right? Who has needed some quarterback help for a long time now. Jesus H. That was horrendous. That was horrendous. Oh my God.
Was not the answer.
Nope, absolutely not. I see where you're coming from. I'm not sure if I totally agree with it yet. But I think this first season is going to be really telling about how good he is. But I also understand Jacksonville is not in the best place in the world, so it's going to be funny.
They had a fall from grace, though.
They did,
from
man.
An AFC Championship to where they were last year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it is weird, and I haven't heard a thing from Ramsey recently. Wonder why that is. Asshole. We'll have to say. I see. Like I said, see where you're coming from. He's wearing number 7, by the way. Fun fact. He's going back to the original number.
That was weird. I seen that and I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, I mean, you know just as well as I know, numbers are always an important thing for any athlete, right? There's always a number that you associate yourself with. For me, it was always number 20. And I've always stuck with the number in really any sport I possibly could. I mean, I think he's good. But it's going to be the first couple weeks of the season where it's like, okay, is he the real deal? Is he going to be the guy that's going to carry the Jaguars or start at least carrying the Jaguars back to some type of glory this season? But we'll have to see. It'll be interesting. I think he's still going to be good. I have to go read his Players Tribune piece. He basically wrote a love letter to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Once he was signed with Jacksonville, I haven't read it yet, but I got to go read that.
I think even in his introductory press conference to Jacksonville, he said something like, "I always love Philadelphia" or something like that.
I mean, you can't not mention them after everything you just went through with them. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't even think Jacksonville even minded that. It's a story for the ages, and of course, it happened right in Philadelphia.
Yeah, really.
So, gotta love it. I hit my mic there. Sorry, guys.
The next story the next one I have here is I only added this because I think it's very funny. So Anthony Barr,
Yes.
who with the Vikings last year, goes into free agency. She's like, all right, I'm gonna sign a deal with the New York Jets, and then so I see that, and then I see that notification, and then
Right.
like 3 hours later, I see Anthony Barr has changed his mind. He's re-signing the Vikings.
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting there. So the deal is worth It's a 5-year deal worth $67.5 million. 33 of that is guaranteed. He is a very good linebacker. But just like I said, I added that because I thought that was pretty funny. Let's see. Well, I will say one thing, as you'll kind of see through this trend. I don't know what has happened to the Jets and the Raiders this offseason, but they are just firing blows at each other. Like they sign somebody, the other team signs another, they come back with another signing.
Yep.
A big one here. This one kind of sucks because I was really hoping that the Broncos would sign him, but they didn't, of course, because they don't fucking sign anybody. C.J. Mosley, the linebacker for the Ravens last year, signed a 5-year, $85 million deal with the New York Jets. Again, a guy that I was hoping that the Broncos would get, but didn't. But like I said, as you see through this, the Jets and the Raiders really made strides this offseason. The Jets really improved their defense, and this is a big piece at the linebacker position. And the other thing is too, he's in his prime still. He's only 26 years old.
Right.
And the Jets have with all the signings they did make, they have a pretty decent defense now. And like I said, this as a middle linebacker, obviously every position on defense is important, but middle linebacker is always one of the most important, in my opinion, on defense, and that's where he plays. And I would not be surprised to see him at a Pro Bowl this year. And we'll kind of see how this works because it is a very hefty deal, for sure. But it's always. That's kind of the trend with sports now. You have to overpay in free agency to get guys. That's kind of how it is, and that's the NFL is also like that. So I don't really look too much into that, because like I said, you do have to overpay. But Mosley has 574 career tackles, which was 5th in Ravens history, at 26 years old. So that kind of tells you where you need to be. I believe. I'm trying to think. I think he used to play at Alabama, because now I'm mixing him up, but I'm pretty sure he used to play at Alabama, and he was a beast in college. But that's nor here nor there.
I don't know anything about his college career, so I can't really say.
So a guy that's been kind of bouncing around for as good as he is, Tyrann Mathieu, who was with the Cardinals last year, signed the 1-year deal with the Texans. He now moves on to the Kansas City Chiefs for 3 years for $42 million. Tyrann Mathieu has always kind of been an interesting case because I can't remember what it was. He's had injury problems, but I'm pretty sure he was in some legal trouble as well. That kind of made him fall in the draft, but maybe he finds a home here in Kansas City, which I guess I'll talk about now as well. Kansas City released Eric Berry, which was kind of that's a big deal. First of all, I kind of have them all spread out, but I want to talk about this all at the same time. Let me finish up on the Tyrann Mathieu point real quick, because like I said,
we're gonna talk about Barry in a second, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with the Chiefs' defense, because they fucking blew it up, which was already a bad defense. But
they were the worst defense in the league, I think.
Yeah, they had the best offense in the league, but the worst defense in the league, statistically speaking. So last year Mathieu had a 7-year. I'm sorry, a 1 million. Jesus Christ, a 1-year deal for $7 million last season. And he came to Houston, and he played well. Houston had a decent season last year. Obviously, got upset in the first round, but he's always been a good player. and
Sure.
they add him back there. But with that being said, the Chiefs made a lot of interesting moves. The first one, like I did say, they did release Eric Berry, who um, I don't, he's a very good player. The problem that he's been having, and was the same case last year, is that he's just been so injured. Last year he
Yeah.
missed most of the year with, I think it was like a heel injury or something. It was definitely lower body. But yeah, I
Right.
mean, he's been there for 9 years. As a Broncos fan, I mean, he's been one of the best defensive players in the division, I would say. He was the guy that for like I'm trying to I don't can't remember. I think he did play in the AFC Championship game this year. But
Did he?
I'm trying to think because he was always the guy that would cover Gronk when they would play the Patriots and would shut him
Right.
down pretty well. Um, so he's just a big time safety. But they cut him, like I said, with the injury problems. I mean, he's only 30. He was, like I said, very injury. He had a lot of injury problems. That was the big thing with him, and that's basically the reason why they cut him. Um, it is unfortunate. I mean, he will find a home, I'm sure soon. I would imagine.
Yeah, a guy like that doesn't stay free for very long.
Yeah. Somebody would take a shot on him, contender. Honestly, I know the one team, of course, that has been talked about is the Browns. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of reason for that.
yeah, I mean the Browns are like apparently the fucking Super Bowl champions already.
Oh yeah, didn't know.
The
You
way
didn't?
everybody's
Did you not get the
talking.
memo recently?
So yeah, but I mean the other moves that the Chiefs made, they cut Justin Houston. Again, I know I just said this about Eric Berry, but as a Broncos fan, one of the best defensive players in the AFC West, and as watching 2 times a year with the Chiefs and watching the Chiefs through the seasons, I always thought that Houston and Berry were their best defensive players, and they're both gone now.
Right.
Um, you know, Houston would have made $15 million this year, so they did cut him.
Right.
But again, another big move. Just a fucking, he's a beast. I really like Justin Houston. He's again is 30 as well, so you're at that point of your career, especially as a defensive player. I mean, I know we just talked about Foles turning 30, but I think it's a little bit different for quarterbacks.
Right.
But I mean, 30 as a defensive player, I mean that is a little, you are taking a beating.
Mm.
But I think he still has a lot left in the tank, and again, a guy who will sign somewhere and be an impact player,
Yeah.
um, for
No doubt.
sure. Um, so So yeah, the original deal he signed was a 6 year in 2015 was a 6 year deal worth $101 million.
So what? He's got 2 years left.
Well, yeah, he would have, yeah, so he got cut.
Right.
But that deal made him the highest defensive player. At the time he was the highest paid defensive player. But yeah, I guess the Chiefs just thought he wasn't worth the money, so they released him.
Mm.
And the last deal they made was a deal to send D Ford, who was an edge rusher, I should say, for them, to San Francisco. Um, Again, just one of their better defensive players who just they just send away. They do get a 2020 second round pick out of it.
Mm.
And D Ford, after the trade was announced, signed a 5 year deal worth $87.5 million with the 49ers. But now, we just went through 3 subtractions. I mean, they do make the addition of Matthew back there, but 3 subtractions. I mean, this this could be a potentially really bad defense next year again. And it's going to be the question of, can that offense be as good as it was last year to carry that defense? I don't know I just don't know. I mean, it's I just feel like the Chiefs games next year are going to end like 50-50 like every week. Like that's just kind of the feeling I have for them, because I just don't know who you have back here
They
that's
need a
going to
new
stop
system.
anybody now.
I mean, they need a new system.
It's funny too because Andy Reid being a coach of like a team, Andy Reid is a very well-rounded coach, and like I always thought like offensively and defensively, and always had the right players, but I guess they're gonna have to get some guys in the draft. Like I don't. It's gonna be a really bad defense. I would not be surprised if again it's one of those things where the Chiefs have the best offense but the worst defense. That would
Or
not surprise
Mahomes
me.
falls from complete grace.
That
After
would be something.
that would be honestly tragic.
Yeah.
If we start seeing that kind of thing happen.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I honestly can't wait to see. I mean, I guess the good news for that is if you're an NFL fan is that if their defense is going to suck that bad, that opens up their offense more, and that is one of the most that is the most prolific offense in the league.
Yeah.
So it makes for entertaining football. It's just that as a Chiefs fan, I would not be happy with the moves they had made on defense, but
sure.
And we'll see how that works out.
Mm-hmm.
A minor deal here, but kind of a sentimental one, I guess, for the Philadelphia area. Deshaun Jackson traded back to the Eagles. For it was Deshaun Jackson and a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick. Basically, Tampa just giving him back to the Eagles, and Deshaun had a lot of things happen last year. The whole thing with Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick. After they benched Fitzpatrick again and brought Winston back in, he was clearly unhappy. So they wanted to trade, didn't trade him. They traded him this offseason, and the team he said he wanted to go to was the Eagles, so he gets his wish. And I think it was like Instagram Live or something after the trade happened. He was on there and was ecstatic. So kind of I don't know. I wouldn't say depth option because I still think Jackson could be maybe like their number 2 behind Alshon maybe.
Sure.
Now, maybe I don't know. It's going to be tough. Maybe they're 3 because I forgot to have Aguilar there. So
Sure.
it's just kind of a depth move for them at this point. I mean, Jackson is 32, so we'll see how much he has left in the tank. Always one of the best.
That's not a bad depth move either, by the way.
No, he's always like he just has blazing speed, which is also something that like the Eagles. Aguilar's fast and Jeffrey, I guess, is faster to an extent, but like they need that burner, and I guess they have him here. So, like I said, kind of a sentimental move.
I'm excited to see him back. I mean, he was a walking highlight reel when he was in Philly originally. Jesus,
it's kind of a shame because Chip Kelly like kind of imploded that team because of his own views. Like the whole thing with his Jackson's ties to gangs. And then the whole thing with McCoy, and then it's like, is Chip Kelly racist? It sure fucking seems like it.
He's in the wrong sport.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
But like
big old yikes.
But yeah, I mean they kind of and there's a lot of rumors about McCoy, like maybe wanting to come back, so they get Djax back. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Chip Kelly's a fucking idiot. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, you have a whole line of people who are inclined to agree with you. Fucking Christ! I don't ever want to talk about that stint with the Eagles ever again. Yeah. I'm not even an Eagles fan, and that hurt me. Like, God's sakes, man.
One of another big free agent that was out there this offseason was Landon Collins, who was a safety last year for the Giants. He moves on to the Redskins for 6 years, $84 million. So stays in the division, and I'm sure he'll have fun picking off fucking Eli Manning 19 times a game because the Giants still think that he's the option at quarterback. But
no.
Yeah, really.
You have a core that you're starting to build now, and then you still think, and after another lackluster season out of him, you think he's still the answer. What is the logic for this? Like,
yeah,
I don't get it.
The Giants are a mess, but
they are a mess. But there are a mess, and you gotta love them dearly.
This one's interesting to me because the Redskins are at a point right now where they're not anywhere close to a Super Bowl, and I almost thought like Collins would want to go to a team where he had a chance to win. Look, he's still a young guy. Like it's not a problem where he's gonna, this is gonna be his last stint here or something. But you have to ask the question, kind of, and this always happens with everything.
Mm.
Is it the money or is it the team? Like this to me, this feels like this was his best deal, so that's why he took it. Which fair play. I'm not discounting that, but it's just like sometimes it's like maybe I should take like $2 million less to go to a contender.
We find ourselves asking that question when all these huge contracts happen. If it's worth it, if they're not going to be a contender. But I mean, a lot of guys are just willing to sit on the money, and Godspeed to them, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, he's one of the most talented safeties in the league. Maybe that helps their defense. And look, I mean, the way that division was looking last year, the NFC East, I guess, like if that's the way the division is going to be this year, anybody has a chance.
Yep.
Because for a while that division was in a loop, and then by the end it kind of straightened itself out. But for a while, I mean, I think through like 10 games of the season, the Redskins were in first place, and then they ended the season like with, I don't know, 7 wins, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, you never know.
That was a weird time.
The NFC East is always it's either like there's always one really good team and 3 really bad teams. Like everybody equally sucks. That seems like that's always the case.
That always seems to be the case. Yeah.
All right, let's get to a couple moves that the Broncos made. So I'll talk about these quickly, but important moves for us for sure. So I was very happy about this one. Through the past couple of years, basically since the Super Bowl, the offensive line for the Denver Broncos has been atrocious. They addressed that with Juwan James. They signed him to a 4-year deal worth $51 million. It's a hefty deal for sure. I mean, it's hefty already, but this deal does make him the highest paid right tackle in the NFL, which, he is one of the best in the game right now. So it's worth it, but it's kind of one of those things where you have to overpay. But 26 years old, and like I said, being one of the better right tackles in the league, I'm very excited about this. Like I said, it's a big help. Now the thing about it is they did just lose their center. Matt Paradis signed with the Panthers, who was very good as well. So it's like you add one and subtract one. So is it worth it? But yeah, I mean, like I said, Denver's had so many fucking problems on the offensive line. It's been
bad,
terrible. Part of it has just been bad quarterback play is a lot of their issue, but I mean, the bad quarterback play is also because of a bad offensive line. So
right.
And look, I mean, Philip Lindsay was one of the breakout stars of the NFL last year. Get him an offensive line and help Flacco out. You never know, man. I don't think I don't think the Broncos are I don't even really think they're a playoff team at this point. But like you maybe something works out. The other move they made, which I think is a good one as well, is Kareem Jackson, who is a defensive back, signs with them. Now, I mean, so they lost Bradley Roby. It was almost like a trade that was made because Kareem Jackson came from Houston to the Broncos, and Roby went from the Broncos to Houston. But I mean, Bradley Roby was a first-round pick a few years ago for us and had high hopes. I think he really struggled last year. I thought he was a big problem for us, and Kareem Jackson is a very underrated player in my opinion. So we'll kind of see how it works out. I mean, he is on like another player who's 30. He is 30, and it kind of is the thing where it's like, well, the Broncos are not probably at least not going to win a Super Bowl in the next, I would say, like 3 years. So like, is it worth giving a 30-year-old a contract, but maybe it works out. Like I said, I think the Broncos are kind of, and I'm not just saying that as being a Broncos fan, but I think they're kind of an interesting team because I think they could either be really bad or like a playoff team. Like I think it's going to be one or the other. Like I don't think there's going to be anything in between. Like they're either going to like suck or like kind of sneak into the playoffs, and and then at that point, when in the playoffs, anything can happen. So, yeah, a couple moves there for the Broncos, and hopefully, like I said, the one I am excited for is the right tackle, because like I said, that it will be a big help. But
Yeah.
let's keep moving along. We still have a lot,
There's a ton to go to here.
there's just been so much. Eric Weddle leaves the Ravens and joins the Rams to bolster that defense that was already very good. So he leaves there. It's just a 2-year deal, like I said, only for $12.5 million, which is definitely a steal. In my opinion, very good safety. Another thing to note, I mean, we will get to one signing they made, but the Ravens had one of the best defenses. I think they had the best defense in the league last year, and they lost a lot of guys, So it's going to be I don't know what's going to happen with them. Eric Whittle being one of them.
Yeah.
Not much out with that. Just kind of reporting on that. But like I said, it's that to me is not so much of a move for the Rams because like it's going to be a very good move for them. Don't get me wrong, but it's just one where it's like for the Ravens rather, it's just like damn, they lost a lot of good pieces. So we'll see how the defense responds next year. We'll move on. Well, this I want to get your. I'm interested to hear your opinion. So, Michael Bennett going to New England in a trade from the Eagles.
Oh my god!
The trade was for a 5th-round pick. I'm sorry. So the Eagles receive a 5th-round pick, and the Patriots receive a 7th-round pick and Michael Bennett, a guy with a lot of talent on the field, but a lot of problems off the field. I mean, again, a very good player who, with the Patriots always being good every year, might push him over the edge again for another fucking Super Bowl. How are we feeling about this?
Okay, it's a weird situation, because there's actually 2 people involved in this deal, right? Because the idea, and that's what's interesting about it to me, is that, and yeah, he's had some off-field things, but the most interesting thing to me was the idea that so he joins and his brother now wants out, right?
Yeah.
So he is coming out of retirement for this. So you would have the Bennetts and the McCourties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That's right. I forgot about that. I mean, I don't think it's confirmed that he's coming out of retirement at this point.
No, it's not, but that's the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That I'm currently hearing. It's possible. I don't think it's confirmed yet either, but it is very, very possible. I don't mind the pickup at all, really, especially for what we gave away for it. It's just a matter of can he stay on the field.
Yeah.
If he has some, we're already dealing with Gordon and his issues. So, I don't want to deal with somebody else like that. I mean, look at what the Steelers are doing. So it just I don't mind I don't mind this pickup at all, really.
I mean,
I don't think it's a blockbuster at all.
Like the Patriots always find because it's the same thing with Gordon. Now, I mean, Gordon is a little bit of a different issue because I think a lot of that is a kind of a mental health thing. I think that's going on. But like the Patriots have a way of taking players that have a bad history and straightening them out under Belichick.
Sure.
Because guess what? You go to the Patriots, the idea every year is to win the Super Bowl. Right. So when players go there, and especially under that coach, the idea is that you go there and it's all serious, and you go there to win. So
you play to win the game.
I think it's a very good pickup for the Patriots. And like you said, it is funny because now does Bennett come out of retirement for this, and
Yeah, I don't think this just I don't think this changes much. Like I don't think it's like a blockbuster deal. It's just funny with all the things that surround it with the possibility of this deal being worth two players.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on it. Really, I hope he's a force, but I'm not really holding my breath about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's. Uh, I think it's an underrated because I don't think that
He
many
is
people are
underrated. I just
with
don't
every
think he's
with
franchise.
with everything else going on right now. I think this is a very underrated deal. I guess you obviously
Especially
have
for what we gave away.
yeah, like with all the deals going on right now. I think this is a very underrated. And again, it's with the Patriots, so you always have to say, well, every deal could turn them
Oh
into
yeah,
Super Bowl, but like this might just be again another piece that helps them get back to the Super Bowl. So
yeah.
um. Yeah, I mean, like I said, what people are maybe considering a minor deal could be a big deal in the end.
Mm.
Uh, sorry, I'm laughing at this because not about the deal, but something that preceded this. So Golden Tate signs a 4-year deal with 4-year, $37.5 million deal with the Giants. The funny part about this is I don't know if you've seen it, but he put out basically a video. I think it was I don't know on Twitter, or Instagram, basically going off of Jerry Maguire and talking about just like this contract he's getting. He did like
Yeah,
basically a skit, and it was actually pretty funny.
I have not seen it. No.
Um, but basically, the Giants here patching a broken bone with a band-aid, which we'll get to in a second.
I like that analogy. Oh my god,
But
that's perfect for this.
you know, I don't know. If I'm a Giants fan right now, I'm on suicide watch
Yeah.
because of what's happened. And by the way, poor Saquon Barkley because
Yep.
um he is a very promising player and will be a good player, but a lot is falling around him, and it's also unfortunate because like a lot of sports outlets now are talking about how they should have taken a quarterback last year with their second overall pick, and
They should
but
have.
but I mean at the same time, I mean Saquon Barkley may end up being the best player out of that draft, and I don't think it's unreasonable.
No, it's
Um,
not.
it's just that quarterbacks are so important
Yeah, I mean, and
in the league today.
quarterbacks are franchise.
Yeah.
Like they're always the franchise, right? And you have a guy like Eli Manning, and he's on the decline. But I think they're tanking. They're getting in the top 5. I think, unless is there a trade that it would be somebody else's property that I'm not aware of?
Well, I don't know what their plan is because they do have a high pick coming up, and
Right.
now they have picks from the Browns. So you would assume that they would take a quarterback, but
They
it's a
have to.
Giants, so you never know.
They have to take a quarterback. If they don't take a quarterback, there is going to be riots in the streets. Like
Yeah.
there's like Saquon Barkley. Okay, cool. You got Saquon Barkley, a player who, well, I don't know if he's going to stick around now, but if you don't get a quarterback, he's definitely not going to stick around. So now the Giants got to make this worth it.
Yeah. Like I said,
It's
I believe that Saquon has a very good chance of being the best player out of that draft, but it's
I
just
agree.
unfortunate because I kind of the rule of thumb is if you don't have a quarterback, you don't really have any hope. And that's kind of
No,
what's going on. Look, I mean, Eli is he had his heyday. I mean, he was a very good
yeah.
quarterback, but he can barely throw the ball over 20 yards at this point. So, yeah, I mean, they need to do something there. But yeah, like I said, we'll get to that trade in a second. But Golden Tate signs there,
I
and
always
then
like Tate.
actually, this is not the last free agent. Well, let me. Sorry, I'm gonna move my.
You want to try that again or?
Well, I had a set topic. I had a set list here, but we'll get to the um. Yeah, I'm struggling here. We will get to the trades after we get to the free agent signing. So, um, the the Ravens did make some signings. They get Earl Thomas and Mark Ingram. Earl Thomas being the safety to replace Weddle, and Mark Ingram a good back. I mean, him and Kamara and New Orleans was a very good duo.
Yep.
But it was kind of at that point where he wants to be the guy somewhere, and at this point he gets it. And in his absence, the Saints did a very good job because obviously they still have Kamara there, and they signed Latavius Murray, who was a lot like Mark Ingram, kind of your goal line back where Kamara is everything else.
I like that. Yeah, he is. No.
The deal for Thomas is 4 years, $55 million. A lot of reports about him possibly going to the Cowboys. Obviously, that doesn't happen though. I think that was more a product of Cowboys fans just fucking being Cowboys fans and hyping everything up. Ingram though, it's funny. I mean, he gets 3 years for $15 million. I thought he would have got a little bit more than that, but little bit of a team friendly deal there. Like it's $5 million a year.
Promised a rebuild around Lamar Jackson.
I mean, I don't even know if you can say. I guess it's not really a rebuild. It's
no,
more like a retool. I would say.
Yeah,
like I mean, they were a good team last year. I mean, they made the playoffs, but they did lose a lot of guys, and it's at the point now where it's like, hey, man, if Lamar Jackson fucks up, you don't have Joe Flacco behind him anymore.
Yeah, right. This is Jackson's, like, we're throwing you to the wolves now. You're the guy.
Yeah.
Show us we didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because I got to think that was a lot of the conversation before the Flacco thing. Because, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Flacco could have stayed. I mean, I don't think there was anything wrong with him staying.
I mean, look, like, this is the reason I'm kind of optimistic for him in Denver is because, like, before he got injured last year and Jackson ended up taking over, he was having a fantastic year, like one of the best years he's had in a long time. So that's why I'm kind of holding out hope. But like that's the thing now for the Ravens is, I mean, their backup quarterback, I believe, I don't know if he's re-signed yet or not, but would be Robert Griffin III, who is well, it is like that, but it is good for them because of how they run their offense. They run like a college offense at this point, like with a lot of Lamar Jackson running, and that's kind of Robert Griffin's game. So it's like it kind of works for them. But
I think he revived the running quarterback. Like, I mean, obviously Mike Vick was always that guy, and we've talked about that before with Lamar. We made that comparison.
I mean, it was like, I mean, obviously Vic, and then you had like Colin Kaepernick was like, I mean, to an extent. I mean, he had a good arm too, but Robert Griffin III. Now you got Lamar Jackson. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope for the Ravens' sake that Lamar and I like Lamar Jackson. He was a great college quarterback, but the whole question was, well, will it translate to the NFL? And last year it did. You just kind of have to hope for them that it continues that way.
Right. Yep. And I mean, I think no matter what, the Ravens' offense is going to be really fun to watch because you mentioned college offense. I mean, no matter what, it's going to be interesting. Lamar's going to be all over the field. And he's able to throw some dimes, man. Don't ever count that out. He's able to throw dimes. So we'll have to see if he's the real deal.
So we have, after all that, we have one more signing and 2 trades left, and these are the big ones that everybody's been waiting for. Le'Veon Bell signs a 4-year deal, $52.5 million contract with the New York Jets.
Can we just give me hold on a second. It's finally fucking over.
I think I think we talked about Le'Veon on about every podcast from September to November.
We did. And like we've been talking about Le'Veon Bell basically since we started the podcast. Like,
you're not wrong. You're literally not wrong. Like, I'm pretty sure this whole saga started at the start of the podcast.
All right, and just like that, guys, we're ending the podcast. That's it. That's all this podcast is made for. So we can just talk about Le'Veon Bell. It's been a good run. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you never.
It's funny you say that because it literally is true.
God.
But yeah, the saga is over. I will say, if you would have told me back in June of last year that all this would have happened with the Steelers and Le'Veon and Antonio Brown and all this happened last year, I would have said no chance. Like, I would have said Le'Veon would have played last year. They would have made the playoffs, would have been a Super Bowl contender. Brown would not have been traded at this point. It's all falling apart, and the Jets were a team that were one of the favorites for Le'Veon for a while. The Jets were there. The Colts were there as a possible favorite destination.
It's been the Jets for a while though, like for a solid couple of months.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, that was the big talk because they had a lot of cap space and kind of needed. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because Isaiah Crowell had a very good year last year by his standards, and he got cut just because of it. The guy they brought in, he's a good running back, so it kind of sucks for him. But it is the business. So Le'Veon comes in. Like I said, it's just kind of incredible that he didn't play last year. In my eyes, I didn't see it. But yeah, the kind of the teams in the end it looked like were the Ravens, the Colts, and the Jets, and he goes to the Jets. And like I said before, with the Jets, I mean, they use their cap space to their advantage this year. I mean, they did make a lot of signings. I mean, you're gonna get the hot take button ready because I put this in the chat and I got a lot of flack for it. But in my opinion, and we'll get to the Browns in a second, but in my opinion, the Jets are like an 8-8 team this year, and the Browns are like a 9-7 team, which is still good. I still think 9-7 for the Browns is good, but people are talking like the Jets are now Super Bowl favorites. They went 4-12 last year. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, I'm not going to say that he's not going to make an impact on the team. He is. He's definitely going to get them a few more wins this time around. I do not think they're there yet. They are nowhere close. Yeah. I think they have a lot left to fix. I mean, good. They have the star running back. They have the diva. Good for you. You're going to see improvement. You're going to be excited with your first few weeks, but you're going to realize really quickly where all your holes are.
I mean, look, like they made good signings. The other ones we didn't really talk about for the Jets were Jamison Crowder, who's a good receiver, comes over. They got Clutchy Assembly from the Raiders and a deal, who is an offensive lineman, and then obviously improved the defense. But that does not make them Super Bowl favorites.
No, not at all.
I mean, there's a lot of work to be made, and they made a lot of good strides in the offensive line as well, but
they still have the Patriots to go through.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still the Patriots division to lose. So,
he was being such a diva about this too. By the way, he was tweeting. He's like, "Oh, there's so many deals on the table. Which one do I take?"
Yeah, he was kind of being an asshole.
Shut up.
Yeah, he was playing. Yeah, look, I mean, he was pulling the entertainment factor, but
he's gonna have a career as a DJ or something after he's done, man. I mean, Jesus.
So as you say, the saga is over. That's enough. Hopefully, we don't have to talk about Le'Veon until the season starts and he's doing well. And not.
We've had a wonderful opportunity producing this podcast, but like I said, it will be coming to an end.
All right, and then the other big thing, again, with the Steelers.
Sound a little more excited about it, why don't you?
Look, I'm not. I know, I sound like a Steelers fan right now. Goddamn.
Fucking Yinzer.
Who is very depressed right now. Steelers. If you're a Steelers fan right now, you're depressed like I just sounded. Because not only did you lose your franchise running back, but you lost your franchise wide receiver. And got fucking nothing out of it.
Steelers, what do you? I hope you still enjoy Big Ben, by the way. And the best thing about your season next season is going to be Connor. So,
I will say this for the Steelers. I mean, Bell and Brown are kind of problems off the like
they're
divas, like you said, and it kind of destroyed that team internally. Like there was a lot of things saying like Big Ben's like, hey man, if he's not gone, I'm gone, and they stuck with Big Ben,
which is a bold move.
I think part of that is just loyalty. At this point, he's been their guy for so long, and he's still a top quarterback. I mean, he's definitely declining. Don't get me wrong, but he's still one of the top in the game, and I think it's kind of more than that. And I think Antonio Brown is sort of a cancer. Like I think they were kind of. It was kind of the case.
But AB is one of those receivers that it doesn't matter who's throwing to him. He'll make the play. And Le'Veon Bell can, walk on a tightrope and get to the end zone through the fucking defensive line. It's ridiculous what he can do, but I just Big Ben's on the decline. AB and Le'Veon Bell are still kind of in their prime. It's still strange to me that you and I can't totally trash loyalty because it's something I still believe in for a team. But in this case, you're losing those two players.
I think. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I'm just saying. I think it really. I don't know if you're the Steelers if there's much you can do because they really forced your hand. I mean,
they made the right place.
Le'Veon held out, right? So it's not like you could have done anything there. But Antonio Brown was basically. I mean, he was basically saying that he made the trade request and was like. It was probably going to be one of those cases. If you didn't trade him, he was not going to play for you next year. Like he would just sit at, like he would just, whatever. If you want to give it 100%. I don't know. I think really for me, the more startling thing about this is what they got for him. I mean, you get a third and a fifth round pick for arguably the best receiver in football.
Right.
And it's funny because a lot of people are making the comparison now. Which is unfortunate for Amari Cooper, but they're saying basically the Raiders traded Amari Cooper a third and a fifth for Antonio Brown and a first round pick, which I don't think is fair to Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper was a stud after he got traded to Dallas.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to him, but yeah, I mean, essentially that's kind of what happened, and it's kind of unfortunate. But hey, man, it sucks because. I mean, I don't know. I still think the Raiders have a lot to go, but as a Broncos fan, I was like, just don't come to our division, and he came to our division. I mean, there was talks that Le'Veon might come to Kansas City, so like at least we want 1 for 2 there.
I would have shot myself in the head. Jesus.
But yeah, I mean, and he did get a deal as soon as he signed there as well. 3-year deal, $54 million, 30 guaranteed. And he does have, he did have a deal left with the Steelers, which was 3 years for 38. So they just gave him basically a little bit more money there, which he is worth. But yeah, it's fucking poor Steelers, man. Poor Steelers.
They turn this around or something somehow. I don't know, man. I can't stand that freaking team. But yeah. Jesus, I would love to get a Steelers fan on here, but I don't know any who would be willing or able to talk about it in full detail. I don't think, but I would love to get a Steelers fan on here and have them talk about what they think is going to happen for the season. Maybe I can find one. Yeah. If anybody's listening, if you're a Steelers fan and interested in talking about it on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, because like it's such again, talk about a fall from grace. I mean, like I know I myself and a lot of people had them as possible Super Bowl favorites last year. They don't even make the playoffs, and now you lose 2 of your best players. And I know everybody said, look, and I'm a huge Juju Smith-Schuster fan. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, like, my boy Juju.
I might be one of his biggest fans out there, but I will say this: he was doing well because he was a product of him being the second receiver. I mean,
right.
Antonio Brown was getting a lot of attention. You now throw to Juju. Will Juju now struggle being the number 1 option? That's the whole issue here.
He's the guy now. He's the guy. So, can he prove himself?
And they have James Washington, who was a 2nd-round pick last year for them, who is a talent, but he's still kind of raw at this point. Like he's not fully developed. But does he maybe step in? He's got to be a big. It's a big step. Juju tweeting out, by the way, after the trade of Antonio Brown, I'm ready, and a picture of his great catch he made this year against the Raiders. With Antonio Brown in the background, so a little bit of a shot there by Juju. But we move on to finally get into our last topic about the NFL. It's been a long segment here, but I kind of knew this was going to happen. But this was kind of I wouldn't say out of nowhere because it was being talked about trade rumors, but a huge trade. Odell Beckham Jr. traded to the Cleveland Browns for a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and Jabril Peppers, who
My boy Jabril Peppers,
who will basically be. It's funny because he'll basically be the replacement to Landon Collins.
Fucking go blue. That dude. Oh my god. He was a beast in Michigan, dude. Oh my god.
Difference maker. One would say.
Christ.
He played pretty well for the Browns as well. It's just
he just kind of was in the background.
You get you have to give up something to get well. What I was about to say is you have to give up something to get one of the best receivers in football, but obviously that's not true.
Nope.
So
say it with me, fleeced.
Yeah,
fucking Christ.
I mean, you look at this. I mean, and I'm not gonna say who's better, Antonio Brown or Odell, but
it doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly, they're in the same tier,
yeah.
and the Browns, the Giants got this for Odell. Which Giants fans are still pissed because Odell is one of the most popular players in the league and a talent. Yeah. And they're still pissed, but you got more than what the fucking Steelers got, so congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. You got something going for you. It's a fucking party.
Yeah. But this is interesting. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry have had a relationship, like a friendship basically throughout their life. I mean, they played high school ball together, both went to LSU, and now are on the same NFL team. So that's pretty cool to see them go through the ranks. But it's going to be, again. This was the whole thing last year. The Browns made a couple signings, and they were all of a sudden Super Bowl favorites. And again, they're making moves this year. You gotta applaud them at least. I mean, they are making a lot of very good moves.
It was one thing when you had a Baker come up and everything like that, but it's becoming more and more a reality. Yeah. As this goes on, you know what I mean?
Like I said, you have to give them credit. I mean, it was only a year ago they literally had 0 wins.
Yep.
And they've made moves. They also got again from the Giants, Olivier Vernon, who is a very good defensive player. So I mean, you bring him in now. Beckham. I mean, I still again don't think they're like Super Bowl bound, but
no.
The progress is there, and soon enough, you never know. And I was before even last year, I was really hoping Baker fell to the Broncos, but obviously the Browns seen something in him, number one, and he showed himself last year. Yeah, he showed himself last year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comparisons to Johnny Manziel, size wise and attitude wise, and a lot of people were saying he might be a bust, but. If what he did last year is an indication of what his career is going to be, he's going to be a very good quarterback. Who's going to be very
Johnny
fun
Manziel.
to watch.
Got kicked out of the CFL, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen that. Poor guy. He'll be in the AAF in no time.
He's going to make the Hall of Fame for being the biggest bust ever, I swear.
Yeah.
Johnny Football.
Great college quarterback and did not translate to any professional.
Heisman winner. Remember that. Heisman.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of
I don't get this one. I really don't.
A lot of this is more for me, and I know I keep going back to it, but just what they got, each team got, that's more of the big deal for me than OBJ going to the Cleveland and and Brown going to the Raiders. Now, I want to ask this question because I'm still really not sure myself. So, obviously, the AFC North has now had a huge mix-up. Who, in your opinion, wins the division? If you're going off right now, just kind of throwing you on the spot here, but right now, I think the Bengals are a safe pick not to be. So, between the Browns, Ravens, and Steelers, who do you have winning the division?
Man.
It's tough. I don't even know myself.
Damn, dude.
Because
the Browns have a chance.
I want to say the Browns, and I think the Browns might be the team there, but it's just like the Ravens are a good team as well. I'm gonna go if I said right now, I would say the Browns would be my team
I
to win the division.
I don't know. If it's not the Browns, it's the Ravens.
Yeah.
But we might see the Ravens and the Browns would be pretty damn close.
I just can't wait for us to say this, and then like the Steelers, like Big Ben, just gonna like basically carry them like to the division. Like I can't wait for that to happen.
I want a whole fucking show in a few months' time to just be all about the Browns and saying how they got and won the AFC North.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, if it's not the Browns or the Ravens, I know Bengals are dead last. Steelers, unless they have to prove me wrong. I mean, they still, for all intents and purposes, they do have some weapons. And
I don't think they're gonna because you're right. I mean, they still have James Conner there who proved himself. We
kind of shit on. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we kind of shit on Big Ben a little bit, but he's still a good quarterback, man. I mean, he just is not he's not going to be the guy who's able to carry anymore. Like he's just not at that status, but he can still throw. I mean,
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little scared to say it, but I could definitely see the Steelers still winning that division because I don't think people look. I mean, obviously, it's what just happened to them is crazy. They lost the two best players, but I still think like there's something there. It always seems that way, at least.
It's not completely out of the question for them to win it. I'm saying this because I don't see any other way this can happen. They need to lose this season terribly. If Steelers want to be making any decent changes, this season's going to give them the kick in the ass. It's one of those scenarios, you know what I mean? Like it's I'm not telling them to tank purposely. All I'm saying is if they end up becoming complacent and take the North or play second in the North, you might see them trying to stick with an aging team, especially with Big Ben.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Because I feel like that is kind of their thing. Like I feel like that's happening a lot in sports now. Is like, I always kind of say this example, and I think I've said this on the podcast before. But in basketball, for example, in my opinion, I just don't see anybody beating the Warriors, in the finals. That is. So like you have teams that are kind of hanging on. It's like at this point, dude, just blow it up. Like you're not like nobody's beating the Warriors. Just fuck it. Like just blow it up. When that after this year that core will basically maybe be gone. I mean Durant will probably leave.
Yeah.
So
my next chapter part 2.
Exactly.
Dude, it's my favorite my favorite sports meme of all time. I think that it is way too funny. Literally any signing that happens, it's immediately whatever team it was that got the signing in any sport with a picture of Kevin Durant with the freaking. So they had the Browns on him recently.
Yeah.
And, oh Jesus.
I'm trying.
It's so funny.
There was one like non-sports related, and it was so funny to me, and I can't think of it. But yeah, I mean, it's basically for everything. Anything that good happens, my next chapter.
Yep.
But no, I mean,
who did it worse though, Cousins or Durant, with them going to the Warriors? Because Durant going was a big deal.
Well, everybody's gonna say Durant, but like I would only say Cousins because he literally is playing for like 3 cents this year just to win.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, but no, I mean, kind of bringing it back full circle. I mean, the thing with me is like I think that a lot of teams are kind of holding on to hope. That they can sometimes, but there's just you're not going to do it. And in my opinion, and this is why I'll never be a general manager in sports. Like it's like if you're not winning championships, be the worst you can possibly be, so that you get higher draft picks and then can be a champion.
It's a cycle. It's a fucking cycle in this game.
And I understand that you got to keep fans and seats, and you got to have interest. But like that's kind of my that would be my philosophy. And again, why I would never be a GM. So
I just wish that, and this is coming from a Flyers fan. Just trust me when I tell you, I get it. You need to be willing to cut off like the low hanging fruit at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's just the problem with seeing a lot of teams, especially the Philadelphia fucking Flyers. there's guys that are just going to be holding the team back and just don't need to be with the team, and they'll probably have some trade value. So I just don't understand why everyone is so hesitant to make these kind of, or at least inquire about them, right? So, let's say, Big Ben starts to fall this season like terribly, right? Why wouldn't the Steelers at least ping the market just a tiny bit to see who's willing to get him? Because I'm sure there's a bunch of teams who would give up some decent assets for him, even though he's kind of on the decline.
And I mean, like that's their whole thing. I mean, for all intents and purposes, like basically, Le'Veon this actually happened for, but basically for Brown as well. Like you basically got nothing for two.
That's the problem here. That's really why we're talking about this. Nobody got anything.
Yeah. So like that's my whole thing. I mean, with Le'Veon, it was the whole contract situation. So why? I mean, I know it could have been tough, but at least trying to sign him to that franchise tag so you could trade him.
Yeah,
I think would have been the option there. But like I said, that's the biggest takeaway for me for this offseason is basically what happened with the Steelers, basically, because, and I'm not saying just the Steelers, but it kind of outlines the NFL for me. Well, sports in general, really, it's just like you have to get something. You cannot let these guys walk like that. And when you make a trade, you got to get more than what you got. But on that note, we're going to wrap this up. It was a long discussion, but like I said, this has been one of the craziest off seasons, and
we literally couldn't, and this all happened over the course of like a day or two, by the way.
Yeah, really.
Most of this happened. Most of the fruit of most of what we talked about today was like a day or two of free agency. It was ridiculous.
Real quick, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like, what's your whole take on the whole loyalty thing, especially with what's been happening in the NFL?
We could make a huge big topic out of this. we really could. Oh my god!
I've always said that. In the NFL, I don't know if it's so much not. Look, here's the thing for me. I can't really differentiate because I don't know if it's more of not loyalty or there's just everybody. I feel like the NFL is so crazy. Like everybody's just always moving.
Here's what it is for the NFL, right? Is every position is starting to get their payday now. And everyone's starting to realize, right? Like the fact that you got guys like Mac who are getting those kind of contracts. So now instead of that kind of money only being for running backs, wide receivers, and stuff like that, those
quarterbacks too.
And quarterbacks. Sorry, linemen at this point are going to be asking for that type of money because it's like, well, typically for them, it would make sense for them to just sign long-term deals with low value, right? Because they could. That's what they're going to get, really anywhere else, right? Like they're not this huge trade value like market. I'm using the wrong words.
I get what you're saying,
yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that like Le'Veon Bell goes on the market, everybody wants him, right? And they'll pay him, right? A lineman, it used to be they go on the market and there's it might be for a trade, it might be a couple draft picks at the most, or
late draft picks too.
Right? Yeah, like 5th or 6th round. That's not the case anymore. So loyalty is basically dying in the NFL because every position is getting their paydays now. Deservedly so. I'm not going to say, that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that players realize like, oh shit, I can go somewhere else and people are going to actually pay me. So
I think like, and this might be a biased take just because like hockey being what it is in my life, like it's my favorite sport and stuff like that. But I always thought that the loyalty in hockey was so much different than the other sports. Like, it's kind of it's tough to say. It's tough to say that now with kind of what's happened in the past year with Tavares and Carlson and stuff like that. But like, it's just it's like fucking the NFL. I maybe don't follow every single move in the NFL. The next season I watch the NFL. I'm like, when the fuck did he sign with this team? And it's just like, but that I see that, and then that happens like 15 more times. Like I'm just like, how did he get here? Baseball. Sort of the same way. You do get a lot of movement there. The NBA, I don't think there's any loyalty there. It's just like that's the whole thing for me. Just like I don't know.
Here's what's funny. So I want to use Alex Ovechkin as an example because he actually talked about this recently. This is coming from RussianMachineNeverBreaks.com in case you really just like this weird ass website.
Well, it's actually it's a weird website, but it's kind of a big website. It's basically like a Capitals insider kind of thing.
So they talked about Ovechkin, which, in case you don't know, Ovechkin has had a 13-year, $124 million contract with Washington, and it's coming to an end, and he's going to be a UFA in 2021. So obviously there's questions surrounding him, if he's going to test the market or if he's going to re-sign with the Capitals. What he said is just so different than what you're used to hearing nowadays. He said, and this is a direct quote, "I won't make any comments for now. I still have a contract, but I've been playing only for two teams in my life, the Dynamo Moscow and the Caps. I don't like too much to change teams." So, but it goes on to talk about that the thought process is, if he doesn't re-sign with the Caps in 2021, he hasn't played the NHL at all.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that's left for him to do is go to the Olympics, which, if you know, the NHL has not done this past year. Widely criticized, by the way. All the players still want to go. But if he goes to Dynamo Moscow, I believe he can play in the Olympics, and that's the idea. So unless the NHL changes the ruling at the end of 2021, Ovechkin's going to be out of the NHL, and he's going to finish his career in Moscow.
Which would be, first of all, very unfortunate. But it's a big point, because he's got a cup now. So he's done. And all his awards, like, he's done. Like, you're right. He just wants that Olympic gold.
Yep.
If he goes to the KHL, he can do that. So, I mean, I would hope the Caps because he's still the best goal scorer in the league right now. So, like, I would hope he gets a contract from them, but you just never know. But yeah, I just always thought, with especially football, there's just no. I hate saying no loyalty, because I don't know if that's the right way to put it. It's just like there's just so much movement, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a loyalty thing, or if it's it's just
he's Russian, so loyalty kind of runs in his blood. The U.S. it does kind of make sense when you think about it. In the U.S. and Canada, more capitalist countries, looking for the payday, right? So that's kind of the attitude you get when you're living in countries like that. Is you're always looking for the highest payday. You're looking to whatever opportunities are available to you. It's like switching jobs, right? I mean, you could be with a company for 15 years, but then another company comes along and say, hey, basically same kind of work, but we'll give you like a $30,000 salary raise. Why would you not take that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's one of those things. Like, my father is even like, you worked for a company for, I don't know, close to 20 years, and then only a few years back got a new job. Like, it happens, and it's really no different in sports when you think about it. The only difference in sports is that there are people cheering you on. There's nobody cheering my father on except for his family. You know what I mean? Like, that's really it. It's so I understand why players aren't loyal anymore, but there's something to be said for the guys who do stay on teams because they're loyal to the fans, they're loyal to the team, the organization, all that stuff. I've always pondered this. If I, in the other alternate universe where I'm in the fucking NHL, right? I'd probably want to go play for the Flyers, man. I'd probably if let's say, I hate putting myself on this level because I'm never even remotely close. But let's say I'm on the Tavares level, right? Let's just say that, right? I get drafted somewhere high, and who would it probably be? It'd probably be, I don't know, Detroit or Ottawa. Yeah. if I'm the first overall pick, or Edmonton, because draft lottery, but
right.
So let's say I go to Ottawa, right? And I play there for, I don't know, I do my ELC.
So 3 years.
Yeah, which is 3 years, and then maybe a couple more, like as just a tiny extension, maybe a 2 or 3 year extension. Right. And then after that, after seeing that Ottawa doesn't have a prayer, I decide to test the market, and I go to Philadelphia, obviously where I'm from.
Yeah.
Is that such a bad thing?
I mean, that was the whole thing with Tavares. I mean, look, Tavares.
That's the thing.
Tavares got paid, but I mean, the Sharks offered more money, but he went back to I think the Sharks offered $2 million more than Toronto did, but
Tavares
he
wanted to
went
go
back to
home.
his home team. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. It's like to me, right? Like if I'm on that, like, I'm going back to this fictional idea. Like if I got signed to Philly, I'd probably take pay cuts to stay there just because I have always been loyal to the team as a fan for so long. But I also understand that for primetime players, for one of a kind generational players like JT and Alex Ovechkin and guys like that, right? I understand them testing the market for the money, right? I mean, when you're on a team and you're carrying this team on your back, and there's not a prayer for them to make it to the playoffs or a cup, and your whole NHL career is supposed to be you want to win the Stanley Cup, right? I mean, I can't really blame them for not being loyal anymore. Because sometimes the builds just don't work.
Yeah.
And in Ovechkin's case, he made an investment in the Caps. It paid off. It took a long, long, long time for that to happen, but he got it.
Yeah.
He's a loyal dude. So I guess what I'm trying to say is loyalty pays off, but I can understand if guys don't stay loyal and try to go to a team that's going to give them the opportunity to win the cup. I mean, it's the whole reason JT happened. He went. It'd be interesting the question that might be interesting for JT's case is if the Leafs weren't in the position they were in, Austin Matthews, better offense, starting to finally get their groove going, would JT have signed with them?
Yeah, I mean that it's hard to really give you an answer because we don't know. But
no, and we never will.
But I mean, it is a true point because if Toronto wasn't successful, does he go back there? It's tough to say. I would like to think that for any sport that the number one priority is winning. I would hope, right. But I just don't know if that's the case for everybody. So if that is to say that was the case for Tavares and the Leafs were not winning, I would almost hope that maybe he stays with the Isles or maybe takes I don't know, a bridge.
Can you imagine if he stayed with the Isles right now after what the Isles have been doing this season?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Really. Yeah,
I honestly, and I don't know if this is hot. You can tell me they might have been on par with Tampa Bay if he stayed.
That is hot because Tampa Bay is having one of the most ridiculous seasons I've ever seen.
I know.
Anyway, before before we get way too off topic.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe next time we record, we'll make this one of our big topics. How about that? We'll continue to talk about this because there's a lot to be said. I did kind of make most of my point. I guess before we sign off for good, I did want to bring back to the NFL. I feel like in football, it's weird, right? In hockey, you have 82 games this season. You have a lot of time to prove yourself and improve your game and to be the guy, right? NFL, that doesn't really happen, right? You have to be the guy as soon as you get there. As soon as you have, 16, 18? What is it? I keep forgetting.
It's 16 games.
Though. 16 games, right, each season. And it's a lot more, and we can argue about this all day, a lot more physically grueling than hockey is, right? I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. So I'm not surprised guys and especially with all the CTE stuff out there right now, I'm not surprised guys aren't staying loyal to bad teams. If they're going to die, they better, and this is kind of cruel, but it's true. If they're going to have all these health problems afterwards and they're going to be kind of on their deathbed sooner than they should be, they better have some rings on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that's the mentality now. The careers are way too short in the NFL. There's way too many health problems with people after they retire. It's kind of part of the game, and that good thing that the NFL is starting to crack down on it a little more. But it's the truth, man. I mean, if you're going to have these short careers, you want a championship.
Yeah.
Loyalty is good to an extent, but it's hard for me to bash on the guys who are looking for more money, and trying to get some championships under the belt. It's weird.
And with that, we will we'll wrap up the show there. Like I said, a long talk with the NFL, but that's what happens when literally fucking 50 things break in 2 days. I hope you enjoyed the video game talk. I feel like we haven't had a lot of video game talk recently.
No, it's been quiet. at least for us. I mean, we also try to talk about stuff we can talk about. Like there's always something happening in the video game world. It's just we don't know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's one of those things where we need to have we do our research, right? We every week we sit down, we do our research, we get a rundown going. So don't say we don't put the work in. It's just that there's stuff we can talk about for fucking 3 hours, and there's stuff that we may mention for like 3 minutes. Like it's just kind of part of how this is. And that's why we've brought guests on, right? There's other alternatives and viewpoints that we can hear for certain things that would be more beneficial to a conversation. So a lot of things that we don't choose to talk about, even if it's considered big news, is because we know nothing about it. And it's not really worth bringing up at that point when we can spend time having conversations about stuff we do know about and might be a little more interested in. So
yeah, for sure. And as for the soccer talk with me and Brendy, hope you enjoyed that because, like I said, I love me some soccer, and it's exciting times.
Really got to invest.
It's exciting a time of year right now with you have leagues coming to an end, and the calendar year is almost over for basically everybody but the MLS because the MLS season just started. But it's going to come down to the wire. But yep, that's all from us. Quick note, I don't know what our schedule really is for the next podcast because I will be down in Georgia and not home being able to record, so we will see. We might miss the next episode, but we will be back after that. If you do want to reach us, you can reach us at Come Play Network on Twitter. Brendy is always tweeting on that. And as for our YouTube audience, if you like the video, give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And the next time we record will be episode 24. So whenever that is, we see you next time for episode 24 of the Come Play Podcast.